Want to change the world, there's nothing to it. There is no life I know. You'll be free if you truly wish to be. That's right, everybody. You know what time it is. It's time for Z Show. Back at you. Here on a moon day, the beginning of the work week. Apparently they tell us when we work, when we rest. How's that work? What's up with that? Not only that, they tell us what a week is. Do I need to go down this road again? There's no weeks. So how's there a work week and then a weekend? Like a weekday and a weekend. So not only do you give us a week, you basically give us 7 artificial days and tell us that's a cycle somehow, when it's not. But then you further break that cycle up into weekdays and weekend. Weird. Very strange. I'm still trying to understand it. I can't wrap my head around it. Mr. RT thinks he has it figured out when he tells me, yeah, Z 7-day week, it's normal. Like that's a normal thing, 7-day week. Really? How so again? Weird. But I don't know. I think like that. I think differently. I always have. It's always gotten me in trouble, too. Oh, well. I don't mind a little trouble. Every now and then. But much love. Boston Bear says, I always love the music to start. It's so peaceful. And can't argue about what the truth is. Well, it always starts off so peaceful, but rarely ends Rarely ends so peaceful. I know, RT. Divide the 28-day moon cycle in quarters and you get 7. Still arbitrary. What? That's still arbitrary, RT. I don't know how you don't see that. It's weird. You know the moon cycle is not 28 days, right? It's like 29.3. Do we need to go here again on a Monday? I'm back with you, RT, arguing about the week. Talk about a loop, dude. It's arbitrary. Plain and simple. You could divide anything into anything. It doesn't make it a cycle. It doesn't give it relevance. It's just goofy. Come on, RT. I don't know why you're not seeing this. I don't know what your hang up is on this one, dude. It's weird. Yeah, Mr. 1-to-1 says 13 months of 28 days. That's not right, by the way. Am I going to have to do this again? It's 29 days. There's 29 days. That's it. Typically, there's 12 full moon cycles in a year. But every 2 to 3 years, you'll get 13. You can do the math on it. It has to do with when the new moon falls compared to when the year falls. So occasionally, you'll get 13. But when people say there's 13 28-day moon cycles, that is false. That's not right. You have to look again. I don't want to get cross with my audience. I'm not here to do that. We don't need to be cross. The facts are facts. I've done this already. This is old news on Z Show. Most years have 12 full moon cycles, complete moon cycles. Occasionally, you'll get 13. That is a true blue moon. If you have 13 full moons in a year's time, that's a true blue moon. Unlike the one they've taught us. No, Mr. 1-to-1. It's not that they fuck with it. It's not that they fuck with it. I don't want to get cross with you. I'm already cross with you, Mr. 1-to-1, because you're constantly posting these like 30-second videos of your cat. I subscribe to your channel and you're just giving me cat videos. You're blocking up my subscription feed, Mr. 1-to-1. I have a cat too. You don't see me posting my cat. No, RT, a blue moon is not two full moons in the same month. That's what I'm trying to say. That's arbitrary. Oh, we're already off. RT, am I going to have to drop the link for you? What I'm trying to say is they tell you a blue moon is 2 full moons in the same month. But months are arbitrary. So that's not real. The real blue moon happens every 2 to 3 years when you have 13 full moons within the year. Now, I don't know who I'm more cross with right now, you or Mr. 1-to-1 for his worthless cat videos that he keeps uploading. And now he's trying to tell me, oh, well, it might be 28 or 29 days. It's like 29.3 days. That's the moon cycle. Plain and simple. You don't have to research it. This is just known. Angela, what's happening? The show's not even 20 minutes in, and I'm already feeling this like strange dissonance from everybody. I didn't want to start off like this. This hurts me worse than it hurts you, audience. RT's trying to tell me a blue moon is 2 full moons in the same arbitrary calendar month. I know that, RT. That's the whole point of this. What are you going to do next, RT? You going to talk about how we're revolving, orbiting the sun, and the moon's orbiting us too? Is that the next thing? Come on. My Lord. Ryan says, Z, what if there's a blue moon on January 31st? Then there will be no... Ryan says, Z, what if there's a blue moon on January 31st. Then there will be no full moon for February, only 12 that year. No. Oh, God, this is so hard. Forget about January and February. Just forget about that. Throw that out the window. That doesn't matter. That's fake. Just go by the sky. I don't want to repeat myself. It's not a 28-day cycle, Snowfire. It's not a 28-day cycle. What? Just Google it. It's like 29.3. I don't want to. I'm yelling at my audience. I don't want to yell at my audience, but you guys aren't listening. It's not 28 days. Get that out of your head. The moon cycle is not 28 days. It's more than that. Stop it. You're just repeating things that you heard. Rat Blood knows when it is. Let's see what he said. Because Rat Blood and I have had this conversation. He says, just go from new moon to new moon, and it takes care of itself by cycle. Thank you, Rat Blood. Thank you, Rat Blood. All right. I need to settle down. This isn't the way I wanted to start it off. I didn't want to start off this way. I wanted to come in and have a nice week. We may have some new listeners here. Thank you, D'Angelo. 29.3, just like your pal Z said. I don't want to have to say this again, class. I don't want to keep doing this. It's not nice. Thank you, D'Angelo. I'm very passionate about these things because there's objective reality and there's the false, fanciful, non-existent reality that they're trying to convince you exists, and it doesn't. It doesn't. God. Are we going to need to start the show over? Am I going to have to play the intro music and just pretend like the last 10 minutes did not happen? Snowfire says, a new moon is a full moon. A full moon earthlings can't see. Okay, now I'm really going to lose it. Yeah. Snowfire, did you really just say that? That a new moon is a full moon earthlings can't? Can you prove that to me, Snowfire? Can you please prove to me how a new moon is actually a full moon just on the other side? RT, are you going to agree with Snowfire when she says a new moon's really a full moon, but from the other side of the moon? Are you going to... I'm trying, Three Fingers, but I can't get through this quagmire that I'm in with my listeners. I just can't. Because just when I thought I was about to change the vibe, Mr. Three Fingers, Snowfire comes in and tells me that a new moon is actually a full moon that earthlings can't see. Now I know why she loves that Tommy so much. Now I know why she's steady on that Illumitami channel. Because she thinks that things like that. Much love, Snowfire. Just stick around. I could always tell who's paying attention and who's not. She says, I was asking you a question. Really? Typically questions have, punctuation marks at the end. They're called question marks. You can use them to be... Oh, at least you're laughing, London man. At least somebody's getting a kick out of my pain. Please. Come on. Somebody's laughing. Speaking about laughing, man, I can't stop watching Mr. Illumitami's channel. Although luckily his last few broadcasts I haven't listened to every second of it, but I still listen even for 5 or 10 minutes, which is probably 5 or 10 minutes too much. I keep listening to that damn Illuma Tommy, trying to figure out what's up with him. Snowfire, you seem completely obsessed with Tommy. You and that Don't Judge Me. Yeah, she goes, I'm busted. I know you're busted, Snowfire. I see you over there. London Man says Tommy was talking some real shit. Uh-oh. Well, London Man, when is he not talking shit? That seems to be his favorite activity. He's quite good at it, too. Tommy's got that old school, like, 1990s rap down. There used to be this thing in the 90s called the Dozens, where you would just, like, basically, it was like a rap battle, but, like, of insults. You know, you just insult somebody. Typically, it was like, you know, your mom is so fat. Tommy's from that era. London says, I mean realness. Yeah, I can't pay attention to him too closely because it's too much. He's hard to deal with. And he's adopted my term of 11 now. So whenever Tommy really turns it up, it's him going to an 11. And he's incorporated that into his vernacular, which is so weird. On a completely other topic, something weird happened to me. Well, not too weird, but one of my friends basically has been pointing out to me. He says, look, every time it's going to rain, he goes, when they call for rain in the forecast, I want you to go outside the day before and look at the skies. And I guarantee you they'll be spraying the skies. They'll be chemtrailing the shit out of it. Because I'm fascinated with this chemtrail stuff for a lot of reasons. One, because it's the biggest indicator of how hypnotized these normies are. Because they're literally spraying the skies right in everybody's view, and nobody knows, nobody cares. It's almost like they can't even see it. And if they could see it, they don't care. Chemtrails may be like the number one, basically most obvious control mechanism going on right now. Yeah, Heidi, cloud seeding. So I was talking chemtrails with my friend. He said, look, it's not random. Because I said, look, some days I go out. Like one day I was out like last week, one of the days last week. It was a completely beautiful day. Perfectly crystal clear blue skies, big puffy, nice clouds. And then another day I'll go out and it's like Armageddon up there. It's just like a fleet of these planes spraying the air. And it seems completely arbitrary. But my friend was like, it's not arbitrary. He's like, I want you to look in the forecast when they're calling for periods of rain the day before the rain sets in. Go outside, they'll be spraying the skies, right? So I listened to him. I said, okay. Because I said, because one of the days last week, I said, it's perfectly clear, no spraying. He goes, they'll spray tomorrow, trust me. Do you know I walked outside today? And he was right. They were completely sky painting the air. And it's supposed to rain here for the next 3 or 4 days. And I was like, son of gun, he's right. This is crazy. They're geoengineering our world right in front of us. Nobody seems to care. And so I was like, well, at first I look up and I'm just seeing what they're doing to the skies because it would have been a beautiful day where I am, perfectly clear. But they basically turned it into like a vanilla sky, milky, overcast, hazy kind of day, right? So, like D'Angelo says, they're in the fucking sky. So I started to get pissed off, D'Angelo. Like I started to get pissed off, right? And I'm like, yeah, this is what they're doing. Fuck these motherfuckers. This is why I don't play along with their little charade of a society. Screw them. And then I tried to just chill out a little bit and say, look, this has been going on ever since I was at least a young man. Let me just kind of not let this bother me. But it still bothered me. It still bothered me. Chemtrails might bother me more than anything. Chemtrails may bother me more than the globe lie, because to me the globe lie is very obvious, and we're going to go over some stuff tonight because I'm realizing more and more the globe is dead already. The jury is out. Globe is dead. People just need to pay attention. Anybody with eyes to see and ears to hear can see it now. But even more obvious than the globe lie, much more obvious, is the spraying of the skies. I don't think I'll ever get over it. They're right in front of us, geoengineering the earth. And people just accept it. There's no excuse. There's no way around it. It's obvious. One day, there's nothing up there. The next day, same everything. Same atmospheric conditions, same temperature. Nothing has changed. And the sky is a grid pattern that basically over the day just diffuses into a gray, hazy like substance that just takes over the sky. It's not clouds. Yeah, like Sean says, more than just cloud seeding. It's more than cloud seeding. It's whatever they're doing. It's whatever they're doing. I think it's electrostatic in nature. There's so many ways we can go about this. And not only that, they always do it with an angle between my perspective and the sun. It's like they spray in front of the sun. So this is crazy, man. Mr. 101 says they denied spraying for decades. Now they admit it and no one cares. It's fucked up. Yep. They pretty much admit it now. I've seen the articles now where they're like, well, we're kind of experimenting with it. To me, this is evidence of so many things. One, what does it say about your government, your elected officials that you think are making decisions and running things? The legislator, the executive, and then these 9 lifetime appointees called justices, Supreme Court justices. That's the government, everybody. You understand that, right? The bureaucracy is not that. Okay, I need to calm down because first I was getting cross with RT and like Mr. 1-to-1 and Snowfire, but now I'm just getting cross in general. So I need to calm down. I don't need to get triggered by the chemtrails. I could just relax. But what does it say about your so-called government? Who's in charge? If they're spraying the sky, meaning to say, it doesn't matter. We've elected a bunch of presidents since they started this. We've elected a bunch of senators and congressmen. A bunch of Supreme Court justices have died, and we've appointed new ones. But yet they still spray the sky. So who's running the show? Is it just a bureaucracy? At this point, it seems like a technocracy. We're just being run probably by an advanced AI computer. That's it. Yeah, Mr. 1-to-1 says, chill Z. I'm trying to chill. Like my brain is saying chill Z, just like you said, but like yet the opposite is happening inside of me right now. I'm trying to deal with it, all right? It'll probably change. Just give me a minute. What's RT saying? Mr. RT says, 3 weeks ago, Jesse Hall interviewed a self-described expert on the chemtrail topic. His name was Jim Lee. Perhaps you could have him as a guest in your show and pick his brain. It's a good idea, RT. I'll go back and check that out on Jesse's channel. Jim Lee, thank you. Nuba said he used to have a channel called Chemtrail Hunter. It's fascinating, everyone. It's because it's so obvious. It's just right in front of you. It's crazy. This is the level of indoctrination, the level of hypnosis that the average person seems to be under. And it is hypnosis, really. Shonaki says microplastics and aluminum. Yeah. Well, I read an article the other day how water, unless it's purified in a specific way, has been found to have these very high levels of microplastics. Not just water from like a water bottle. Just everyday water now has these microplastics infused in it. Angel says kiss, kiss, kiss. Oh, for those of you who don't know, see this Sean, Alki, and Angela? They're like an item, by the way. Do you guys like listen on separate devices, Sean and Angela? I think you guys live together. I want to know. Or like, is Angela like in one room right now, like with her phone, and Sean's like in another room? Or do you guys like sit together on the couch playing footsie with each other? I want to know that. Clint's here. Hey, Clint, I have a theme song for you. So make sure you come up at some point, sometime soon, so I could try out Clint's theme song. It's perfectly appropriate, Mr. Clint. Yeah, Clint's talking about the fentanyl problem. Clint says there's enough fentanyl to kill every being on Earth 100 times over, and it's still being produced. Yeah, fentanyl's highly lethal. And to the point, Mr. Clint, where I'm actively and seriously contemplating whether or not to get, and I'm probably going to do it. There's basically it's like an opiate suppressor pen that you can use against fentanyl. The name escapes me now. Somebody will know what it is. It's either like an aerosolized thing you put in somebody's nose, or there's different ways to administer it. Cops have it, EMTs have it, because all you have to do is touch a little bit of fentanyl and you're dead, really. So, like if a cop is running somebody's pockets and they touch it, they're dead. If they walk into some house. Yeah, Narcan. Thanks, guys. It's called Narcan. And, anybody who's conscious and, health and safety conscious, you should probably get it. Like if you have a first aid kit, you have to have Narcan. Especially like me, I live near cities and major metropolitan areas. Narcan's a must. You can kill somebody easily with it. You want to end somebody, fentanyl's an easy way to do it. It's crazy. Welcome to humanity, everybody. I don't know what's worse, chemtrails or Narcan. Oh, look who's here, Rocky Shepherd. I've seen you, Rocky Shepherd, surfing the panelverse lately. I've seen you in various panels, Rock. Interesting, Mr. Shepherd. You seem to get the same reception everywhere you go, except on Z-Show. I roll out the red carpet for your goofy rhinestone cowboy ass. But it seems like, Rock, you kind of get... you don't get the same treatment everywhere else, Rocky. You kind of get shit on, which doesn't surprise me, because you come in a little harsh, a little judgmental. Just saying, Rock. But not everybody's Z. Not everybody's like, as magnanimous as I am. Not everybody's as willing to like engage with and discourse with those with such diverse opinions and belief systems. What did Sean and Angela say? She said, you're on a big screen. HD Z. Oh, I got it. So you guys are in the same room. We watch on a TV and chat from the phones. I got it. So you're both sitting in a room, probably blazing down like multiple spliffs, watching the big screen, chatting on the phones. Gotcha. Now I know what's going on. Yeah. That's Sean and Angela, everybody. Hey, Sean, maybe one day you'll come up and you'll let us know what Angela's like in the sack. Maybe you'll give me and my audience a little insight into the, the whole Angela Baby Carson thing. Just saying. Yeah, Narcan. Everybody needs it. All right, let's fire this puppy up. It's about time. I've monologued and meandered enough here. Let's move on with the show, everybody. We had a big show last Friday. It was big for me. Special guest, Mr. Flatzoid from Flatzoid's Perspective was here. And we had quite the fascinating and in-depth conversation, everybody. So if you missed last Friday's show, you missed a lot. So shout out to Flatzoid. He stayed up late to come visit us here on Z Show. Being that he lives out in good old South Africa. And the highlight from that interview, I mean, forget the fact that he basically like destroyed any last remnants of the globe. He basically told us what it was like to celebrate Christmas in the middle of the summer, which is totally fucking weird. And I'll never get over that. The fact that people, like in the southern parts of this world, they celebrate Christmas in the dead of summer for them. But yet still have Christmas trees, wreaths, Yule log, fake snow, Santa Claus, elves. Like, I'll never get over it. I'm going to never get over that, ever. I'm still fascinated by it. If I lived down south, I would revolt against that. I'd say, no, we're switching Christmas up. I don't care. We're going to celebrate Christmas in the winter. I don't care if it's July. We're going to do it when it's cold. I would reverse the whole thing. Like if I were like running for president of South Africa, do you guys have a president? Who knows? Whatever happened to that Nelson Mandela? Did he ever die? How many times has he died? So that would be my platform. And I'd probably win because I'd wake everybody up. They'd be like, whoa, wait a second. You're right, Z, President Z. You're right. Why do we celebrate Christmas in the middle of the summertime? It's cuckoo. Why do we do it? I'd win just on that platform. Same thing in South America. Like send me to like Chile, Argentina. I'd run on that. Or that goofy Australia land that some of you goofs live in. Stop it. Right. Christmas in July. What did Sean... Jill LaPille says nobody needs Narcan. Fair enough, Jill. What do you recommend besides Narcan? Maybe just stay away from people with fentanyl? Not bad. Jill LaPille, if that is a picture of you, feel free to hit me up. Just saying. Sean says about Angela and their sex life. I only get 2 positions out of her. What? That's okay. Sean, that's one more than you need. Who cares? 2 positions is fine in Z's world. I don't care. You only really need 1 to make it work. 3 positions at the most. That's all you need. Straight missionary, doggy, and then chick on top, like cowgirl. You don't need reverse cowgirl. You don't need that. You don't need 69 or any weird. You just need 3 positions at the most. That's it. You don't need any more. Don't get greedy, Sean. Don't get greedy with Angela over there. Hey, Angela, don't worry. Sean's fucking feeling a little way because you're going to give him 2 positions. I'll take 1 position. I'll outbid you, Sean. This is like the showcase showdown. I'll underbid you without going over. 1 position. Beat that. Angela's agreeing. Clint says there's at least 7 when done right. Oh, yeah, Clint. Mr. Lothario. Clint, the fucking retired Adonis of the Roadhouse fucking blues bar. There's at least 7 when done right. Yeah, but how many of them involve cunnilingus, Clint? Probably 6 of them, which means they're off the table for me. Unindoctrinated and says, Z, you can only last 1 position. Yeah, that's right. That's why it's all I need is 1. I'm fine with 1. 1's good enough. I'm old-fashioned, everybody. I don't care. Sean says, I'm old now. I had a good run. All right, Sean. Maybe it's time to step aside. You know, let Angela have her needs fulfilled. I mean, I'm not saying me necessarily. I'm just saying there's a lot of guys here. You see this Nuba? He's pretty much the most thirstiest incel I've ever seen. No offense, Nuba, but if the shoe fits, buddy. And he said, I only get a BJ on my birthday. Angela, I mean, he's pretty much blowing up your spot. All right, this is fucking already off the rails. Let's get the show started. Hold on, let me turn my light up. I feel like my light's been too low lately. Let's give it 2 notches. That might be too bright. We'll see. Hola, folks. Greetings. Official opening commencing now. Good evening, everybody. Greetings and salutations. You found your way back to Z Show. That's right, everybody. It's the end of the rainbow, the bottom of the rabbit hole. And as always, we are broadcasting live and in living color around the level, horizontal, topographical plane called Earth. Welcome, everybody. As always, we are in store for a wonderful time full of emotions. Some highs, some lows, some in-betweens. But you know what, folks? It's always a good time here in Z Show, so no matter what happens, you will be edutained. That's right. It's education and entertainment all combined into one truthy experience. Buckle up, everybody. Yeah, come on. Gets me every time. Who's here? El Pistolero, much love. Angela, baby Carson. Nuba, D'Angelo in the house. Rolled by Saturn, much love. Sean Alke. He says, I will leave her in the will to you, Z. Oh, great. You're mine, Angela, after Sean passes. Be careful, Sean. I always say this to people. Never be worth more dead than alive. That's why Z is not a fan of life insurance. Do not have life insurance, people. It's not going to be good for you. You don't want your loved ones to know that you're worth more dead than alive. It's human nature is such that that's not a good idea. It's a scam. Hard hat in the house. Brit. Divine Spark, Heidi 313, Clint, the aging Adonis. That's your new name, Clint. Clint, the aging Adonis. Somewhere in time, much love, lovely lady. No longer in the ball. He said, Geezer, the Z Show, best experience with headphones. No, I can't argue with that. Probably no longer in the ball because you don't want your wife like hearing my lewd and the lascivious comments. That's right. RT in the house, talking with Mr. Harmon Walker. Mr. 1-1, Ryan Nated, Gigi, Abby, Lynn, my favorite lesbian, and yours, and so many more. All right, guys, like I said, we had a banger of a show on Friday with our special guest, Mr. Flatzoid. No special guest tonight, but I have plenty of truthiness in store for all you lovely guys and dolls. As I like to say here on Z Show, truthiness does abound. But first, allow me to take a brief break and present you with a short musical interlude that I'm sure you all will enjoy. With that being said, Mr. Lucky Haskins, take it away for the audience. More Z Show in a few. Don't go anywhere. Much love, everybody.
The scene was an old roadside cafe.
Yeah, Lucky Haskins,
The
everybody.
waitress sweeping the floor.
I love waitresses myself, Lucky.
Truck drivers drinking their coffee. And two okie kids by the door. How much for them candies, they asked her. Well, how much have you got? She replied. Well, we've only 1 penny between us. Well, they're 2 for a penny, she lied. And the daylight grew heavy with thunder, with the smell of the rain on the wind. Isn't it just like a human? Here comes that rainbow again. And the truck drivers cried at the waitress after the boys went outside. Hey, them candies, they ain't 2 for no penny. Yeah, what's it to you? She replied. Well, in silence, they finished their coffee. And they stood up, they nodded goodbye. She said, hey, you guys left way too much money. Yeah, what's it to you? They replied. And the daylight grew heavy with thunder, with the smell of the rain on the wind. Isn't it just like a human? Here comes that rainbow again. Isn't it just like a human? Here comes that rainbow again. Here comes that rainbow.
Thank you, Mr. Lucky Haskins, everybody. Link to Lucky Haskins' channel is in the chat. Give him a sub. He is not just an artist and a singer and a cowboy and a Rust Belt hero, but he also knows a lot about a lot. And that's why we love him. He's Mr. Lucky Haskins. A true American prototype. An original. And you know what, Z Show? That's what we like here. Originals. People that have that certain spark. That certain zest for life. That's right. There's still people like that around everybody. Not everybody's completely soulless, turned over to this demonic, fucked up system. Not everybody, not yet. Not everybody's rolled over and complied to the fucking tyranny. It's cuckoo. It's cuckoo. What happened to everybody? Where's the spark of humanity? Did everybody just sell out? I refuse to think so. Maybe it's here. Maybe Z Show. Maybe Z Show's the last bastion of humanity. I don't see it really anywhere else. I'm not seeing it. But maybe it's here. But yeah, give him a sub. Some people said they're already subbed up. Good. That's good stuff. Appreciate that. Because here comes that rainbow again. All right, guys. Let's get into tonight's presentation now.
The debate generally centers around the question.
I didn't tell you to start. Does my video start without me? All right, so here's the deal, everybody. Your pal Z, that's right, that's me, the Zetetic Warrior. I have a banger for you this evening. Now, this may be minutia to some. If so, I don't care. Kick rocks. Because I'm about to show some highly enlightening information that, like I said, should end certain arguments that people keep presenting me with. What are you saying, Rap Blood? Rap Blood says, I like to think my channel has love. There you go, Rap Blood. Way to speak up. Mr. Access Rap Blood. He's throwing his hat in the ring and saying, humanity's just not done, Z. And your show's not the end of it. Not the last bastion. Rap Blood's throwing his name in the ring. His hat in the ring. And he's saying, my show is truthy too. So let me drop the link for Rap Blood's channel in there. Toss it out there. Throw Rap Blood some shine. Because you're right, Rap Blood. People who embody truthiness should be recognized. Let's get your name, your channel. All right. Mr. Rap Blood's link is in the chat. Yeah, Will I am. I guess every flat earther is going to play this because it's worthy of playing. You have to strike when the iron's hot. Much love, Rap Blood. No need for thanks. It's all you, man. It's all you, homie. Yeah, Will I am. Every flat earther is going to play this because I saw Flatzoid played it too. And that's not why I'm playing it, everybody. This isn't Follow the Leader. As soon as it came across my feed, I put it in a queue. Do you understand what I do? I have a feed, right? My subscriptions. And then when I see what I like, I put it in a queue. Then I review it. And unlike most people, I'm not just going to play the whole thing. See, I highlight the parts I want to talk about, and I play that. Oh, okay, well, I am. Well, it's only been played 100 times already. Well, too bad for you, because my audience hasn't seen it yet, most of them. Smart ass. Everybody's a smart ass. All right, Will I am. I'll ban you for a week just for being a fucking smart ass, dude. Don't test me. I have tons of content, fuckface. This is what I want to play because it's consequential. Who are you anyway? Heidi, what's going on tonight, Heidi? What's going on? Maybe Heidi knows. Because I don't know what to do with these people. It's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. Can't win for losing with you people. So weird. It is weird. Yeah, don't judge me. Note to self, don't be a smartass. Although, DJM, I imagine you get away with a lot in your life. When you throw around a little bit of sass, people probably interpret it as hot. You're one of those chicks. You get sassy and it's like a turn on. That's my problem my whole life. That's gotten me in a lot of trouble, don't judge me. Like when I'm first going with a lady and she's all sassy and I'm like, yeah, I like this. Yeah, it doesn't really turn out great in the long run, that whole sass thing. It's cute in the beginning. Then that sass leads to her walking away with like half of my shit and all of my dignity. That seems to be how it plays out. It's a lesson, guys. Yeah, she's like, yeah, LOL, I could see that. Yeah, I know. Hey, DJM, it's called Life on Easy Mode. It's pretty much the life of a lot of you ladies. Same thing with Heidi. Heidi was life on easy mode for a while. The only difference between you and Heidi, DJM, is that you managed to rope in some like third level simp to be your husband. Come on, DJM. We know your husband wasn't your first choice, or even your second or your third. Your husband was the guy that, you know, that you finally settled for. Come on, DJM. Your pal Z knows how this stuff works. I'm not new to the game. Harmon says, Z, your choice is usually spot on. Thank you, Harmon. And this one's going to be spot on too. If you haven't seen this, Harmon, you're going to love this video because it explains so much. I don't care what Will I Am or whatever his name is says. Yeah, Will I Am. No, see, William, you don't know my audience because my audience has people like don't judge me in here. Heidi, Heidi. See, every so often this starts to happen with the audience where they start feeling like emboldened and like, let's just say, I don't know, just in some ways like spoiled. And then I have to punish the audience. I've punished my audience before. Don't make me do it again. I've punished the audience before. People who've been around here know. I have ways of doing it. Last time I played an hour and a half of how to produce spackle. That's right. It was the science behind spackling. I could do that. I could bring up the spackle video again. But you guys can learn how to fix, like patch some drywall. We could do that if you want. I could do that. Brit says, Z, you love the push and pull. Not here. Not here. I love the push and pull in certain circumstances. I can't deny it. But I don't want that kind of push and pull with like, you know, like Chuck in Tennessee. You get it? Like, don't judge me, push and pull. That's cool. Heidi, same thing. I'll take a little push and pull, a little sass. That's fine. But not from Will I Am. And not Chuck in Tennessee. Much love, Chuck, but you understand what I mean. Yeah, Robert. Robert doesn't want me to punish my audience. I could do it. I could punish everybody. All right, it's enough. Let me play this. Harmon's paying attention. All right, so I want to talk to you guys about perspective, refraction, lensing, miraging, compression, and a little something called the horizon gap. I want you to pay attention, Harmon. You've probably seen this before, but I don't know if you've ever seen it presented like this, the horizon gap. And We're going to talk about information loss due to perspective and how proximity to a tangible surface or compressed angles will obscure objects. And they'll obscure them bottom first or bottom up on a flat plane. Because everybody wants to tell me how things disappear in the horizon from the bottom up, like boats on the ocean, and how that has to be due to Earth curvature. I'm gonna shut you all up once and for all. Thanks to this beautiful video from Taboo Conspiracy. All right, did I prep you enough? Good. Let's get into it. Pay attention, dummies. You might learn something, morons.
Generally centers around the question as to why boats disappear from the bottom up over long distances. Since this is probably the most popular argument in favor of the globe propagandists will not let it go, even if it is stupid. As you can see here, so long as the water is very calm and there is no inferior mirage, you can see the clear evidence of our flat Earth. This cruise ship in this video, which should be entirely hidden by the globe curvature, is much further away than the video used by Mr. McKeegan, and the camera is even lower at only 2 feet off of the water. Essentially, as I have discussed before, there are 3 primary ways the globe propagandists trick their non-discerning audience with the claim that boats disappear over the alleged curvature. First, globe propagandists use the fact that small obstructions between you and a distant object, like waves, swells, and tides, can cause boats and distant buildings to disappear from the bottom up. Globe proponents falsely call these obstructions curvature, and will deny the fact that small objects in the foreground can obstruct distant objects along the horizon. Fortunately,
do you get it? Small objects in the foreground can obstruct distant objects on the horizon. Oh, we're going to get into this. But just kind of follow that away in your gray matter as we're starting here.
Fortunately, you can just open your eyes and see the effect that waves have in hiding distant boats like these. I hate to point out the obvious, but waves are not the supposed curvature. But there it is. In the video you're about to see, Life is Short has an awesome segment that details how the smallest obstructions can become large obstructions, to the point that for a 6-foot observer, a 3-foot wave a quarter mile away can obstruct a 250-foot tall cruise ship 20 miles away. This actual footage from Wide Awake further confirms Life is Short's argument. The second method of deception globe propagandists use is taking a long-distance object that is being obstructed by an inferior mirage and deceptively referring to that opaque inferior mirage obstruction as curvature.
Okay, so number 2, inferior mirage. Miraging. This is a phenomenon that we need to account for when we engage in this discussion.
That's a favorite one used by many propagandists, including Reds Rhetoric, Walter Bislin, McQuest, and Soundly. You'll see Mr. McKeegan employ the same pathetic method of deception in the videos you're about to see. What shocks me the most is that their subscribers fail to see such obvious lies. The third method of deception, which is beyond the discussion here, is taking long-distance images that are compressed, like these apartments here, and referring to that compression as curvature.
Compression. Compression's another thing we're going to talk about here. We're talking about how perspective works. We're talking about the way optics work in this world. Because when we view things, objects behave in a very particular way depending on a number of circumstances. These circumstances need to be accounted for in the discussion, because people who like to defend their globe and their globe model use sweeping generalizations along with a number of logical fallacies to try to explain their points. But under scrutiny, they fall apart because it's about perception.
video from Red's Rhetoric. Actually, it was a longer observational video of a sailboat supposedly disappearing behind the curvature. This is a shortened version, and this video is still listed by Red's Rhetoric as proof of the curvature. I remember this video well because it had a huge psychological impact on me, as the globe proponents were very excited about it. According to them, this observational video should have ended the flat Earth debate. I actually thought the globe proponents were right at first glance, but I watched the video carefully, and I noticed something was wrong with the claim, as the far distant birds were mirroring themselves and disappearing higher than what appeared to be the...
You see what happened, how the bird mirrored itself? Let me go back a little bit, a couple seconds here, if I can. Try it again.
Mirroring themselves and disappearing higher than what...
See it? You'll see maybe like the left third of the screen at the watermark. You watch the bird come up and it mirrors itself. What I and this gentleman and others are trying to point out is when you look out and you see things disappear in the distance, it's a very complex process that involves multiple things, all based on perspective and optics. And it's nothing to do with physical curvature. Yeah, Fata Morgana, exactly, Joe Moore. It's this feature, this phenomenon, this Fata Morgana. It's complex because when you're using telephoto lenses, especially when you're zooming in, there are certain features that evidence the things that are being discussed here. One of them is mirroring, miraging, and lensing.
Than what appeared to be the horizon line. Geoengineering later made a terrific video on the subject.
Much love, Geoengineering.
So you can head over to...
Now here I put a little arrow, and if you watch carefully, right at that line, you will see clearly the waves of water as they run by the boat, and you can see the reflection of the left sail in the water. That's not the boat. That is a reflection. Just like in this image here of the sunset, that is not the sun melting into the water. That is the actual water. Kind of reminds you of this image here. This gentleman walking on a mirage street, and obviously the bottom of his body has been eaten up. And that is what's happening on the ocean when we look at boats. The bottom of the boat has been eaten up. Here you can look underneath that right sail. There's nothing there, whereas the actual boat, which I superimposed, had different sections of the boat there.
All right. So that's pretty self-explanatory.
Fascinating, but mirages swallow distant objects from the bottom up. The bottom of the boat did not go over any imaginary curvature. Without question, the bottom of the boat disappeared into a mirage, and the rest of the boat faded into the atmosphere. It's not even debatable, as you can clearly see the mirage line.
Right. You see it? The boat is basically evidencing miraging. And we're going to talk about something called a horizon gap soon. Because believe it or not, even without the phenomena of miraging, lensing, compression, there seems to be a quote-unquote horizon gap when we talk about perspective. Let's continue.
Globe propagandists still use mirages as proof of the curvature. Globe propagandists still use mirages as proof of the curvature. Now, this is another issue that still bugs me, because people keep sending this to me as proof of the curvature. This is Soundly's famous Lake Pontchartrain Earth curvature video. He still has it up, and he still proclaims that this is actual footage of the elusive Earth's curvature.
All right, so this is one of the very frequent things that globe propagandists will use to try to show that there's Earth curvature. They take this one isolated image of this Lake Pontchartrain, it's called, and they'll show this in isolation, without explanation, without repeating it. Basically, it's images like this that give people the confirmation bias that they're looking for. When people want to make people like me look silly and others like me, they'll point to things like this. Most normies, when they encounter an image like this, they'll stop their search because in their minds, emotionally, they've received enough information for them to confirm their pre-indoctrinated belief, and they'll leave it. And it's a good thing there's people out here doing this work to basically show what the truth is. Let's continue.
The globe liars always make the claim that we flat earthers don't believe in refraction. I have spent many hours filming long distances. We flat earthers most certainly believe in refraction. And guess what? This is what refraction looks like. Refraction takes what is visible within your line of sight and it distorts, it stretches, it compresses, it mirages, and it obscures your vision. But refraction is certainly not a vision enhancer that enables us to magically see around giant bulges of the Earth. But let's get back to the Pontchartrain curvature. You can see why they won't let go of this lie, because it's pretty convincing for the ignorant and the unobservant. You know, the target audience of the globe cult channels. But here's an older video from Phuket Word, but it's absolutely perfect, as he fully demonstrates to any honest, objective, thinking person that Soundly's imaginary Pontchartrain curvature is nothing but a mirage, deceptively relabeled as Earth curvature. Look at the comparison side by side. It's unmistakable. There is no curvature at Pontchartrain. That's an obvious effect of light bending. You know, actual refraction. Do these
Actual refraction. And that's what they do. See, they claim refraction is the opposite. They say, well, instead of distorting, bending, compressing, miraging, they try to claim that refraction actually takes things that are obstructed physically and magically bends them back right into line of sight with perfect clarity. Again, another inversion by these tricksters.
Fortunately, a flat earther did go out and filmed Pontchartrain with a P900 and proved the Earth is flat.
Interesting. So D'Angelo says, LOL, my brother sent me that same pic years ago. Yeah, the previous one. Hey, D'Angelo, maybe clip this out and then send this to your brother. Maybe clip this whole part out of my show. Or wait till I do it and I present it, and then send it to your brother and see what he has to say. That'd be interesting. Somehow I still don't think it's going to work.
What I really like is the comparison on Bislin's website that shows what the flat Earth and the globe Earth are supposed to look like when modeled out. Do I even need to ask which one represents reality? Why hasn't Bislin linked to this very flat Pontchartrain video, even out of intellectual honesty? What's even more ridiculous?
Right. And that's what he just said, intellectual honesty. And that's what's lacking in most discourse these days from anyone defending this religion of scientism. They're lacking intellectual honesty. Because when you put it to the test, it's like our friend Flatzoid said last Friday on my show, is that they base all of their models, they base all of their calculations off of presuppositions. When you investigate their ideology and their theories, you find that the foundations are flimsy at best, and they're usually completely made up. They don't hold up to scrutiny, not at all. But in discourse with these individuals, they often evidence intellectual dishonesty.
More ridiculous. is the fact that these liars claim that this flat Earth footage that you're watching is actually refraction, magically removing the Earth bulge without a trace and lifting all of the distant transmission lines to appear as though the Earth is flat. Really? To the honest observer, which video is evincing the telltale signs of refraction? This one, where you can see the actual miraging and bending of the light, or this one, where you can even see the structures on the other side of Pontchartrain displaying a true flat Earth?
When you can even see the structures on the other side of Lake Pontchartrain. You can see it. You can see the other side there in the picture on the bottom left. You can see the shoreline. It's fascinating. That's what I keep saying. This isn't new information. This isn't hard information. And the information is out there. It's present. That's why I'm so vocal on this topic. Is because I'm realizing it's not about the information. It's about the suppression of this information. It's about censorship. And again, it's about dishonesty. Intellectual dishonesty, but at this point, it's more like spiritual dishonesty.
Seriously? The flat Earth truth is painfully obvious.
Yeah, I know, Harmon, you've seen these, but we haven't even gotten to the meat and potatoes yet. This is just the appetizer. The meat and potatoes is when he actually breaks down the mathematics of perspective, which we're going to getting to very shortly. Let me bring up this part.
Hello again, everyone. Hope you're doing well, and thanks for joining us for another video.
All right, so this is an anti-flat earther. You can see his globe in the back. This man is very dishonest. One, he has this dog with him every video, which to me is an obvious method. He's trying to portray himself as, oh, he's trustworthy. Look at the cute dog laying in his lap. This is like manipulation 101. This guy's one of the worst because I'm realizing more and more that many of these anti-flat earthers, it's not about their lack of knowledge on the subject. These people are actively shilling for the globe, whether they're paid or otherwise. I don't know. I don't want to make claims against this man. I don't know him. But my discernment says that these people are dishonest on purpose, which makes them cowards and frauds and pretty much sellouts to humanity. Because if somebody's going to come on here and they're going to profit and aggrandize from obscuring truth and lying to people, they've basically sold out humanity.
Now, for centuries, it's been an established fact that the reason ships sailing out to sea disappear from the bottom up is due to the curvature of Earth blocking our line of sight. Disappear from the bottom up is due to the curvature of Earth.
Right out the gate, he shows us the effects of an inferior mirage and calls it Earth curve instead. Not a good start, Dave.
Disappear from the bottom up is due to the curvature of Earth.
Demonstrate how that lens bends light waves to create a mirage. Ed brings in a helicopter.
Okay, come toward us at maybe 10 knots at 5 feet ATL if you can, over.
Just now, the ground is much warmer than the air above it. This creates a gradient of hot to cold air. And since cold air is denser or heavier than warm air, the two air masses create distinct layers.
You see what he's talking about? Air temperature. The warmer air and the cold air create two distinct density layers. And you get this miraging. Look at the helicopter in the distance here. There's a complete mirror image of it underneath. And you'll see what happens as it goes to land.
Those layers act like a lens, bending and distorting our familiar reality. The result is a classic mirage, where objects appear below their actual position.
As the helicopter lands, you see its landing gear begin to vanish into the mirage. This is only one of a few different ways bottom first obstruction occurs on our flat Earth.
Sequence is one of my favorite sequences with mirages. You can see it in the distance. Don't know what that is. It looks like a spaceship coming at you.
Yeah.
It's a black blob. and this is on a highway in New Mexico. You have no idea what it is, and slowly it emerges. It still looks like a spaceship right there.
Yeah. It's
And
floating in the air.
it's floating in the air. It seems to be floating in the air. Then when we get up here, you see it. It's a car with 2 trucks behind it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it? That just shows that your eyes can deceive you so much with this sort of stuff.
Well, it's not your eyes that are deceiving. Your eyes aren't deceiving anything. What it is the lens of the air between the object and what you're seeing. That's the.
It's not your eyes that are deceiving you. It's the lens created by the air between you and the object. That's the biggest thing with these anti-flat earthers and these globe proponents, is that they're consistently disregarding optics. So what they do is they hijack optics. They hijack how we see this world. And they try to explain the world through optics. Meaning to say, because of optics, things disappear along a horizon. Provably, we have the technology. It's proven. And they still will not relent, because the entire globe model was based on the hijacking of optics, plain and simple.
That's the deception.
However, flat earthers obviously have to offer a different explanation, and the reason that I've seen most commonly given is due to the Rayleigh criterion, sometimes phrased along the lines of it's perspective or it's a limit to our vision, which it's not. So in this video, I'm going to try and break down as simply as possible to show why. The problem with all of this is that objects disappearing due to being unresolvable don't disappear from the bottom up like flat earthers claim.
Oftentimes when angular resolution is up for debate, globe proponents along with some flat earth proponents will fail to mention the effects a visible surface has on your perspective. Any visible floor, such as land and water, wall or ceiling, will compress your visual angles when looking along it, depending on the distance from the surface.
All right, you need to pay attention to this. Any visible floor, such as land or water, wall or ceiling, will compress your visual angles when looking along it, depending on the distance from the surface. This is key here.
When there is no visible surface, such as looking up at the sky, your visual angles remain open.
When there's no visual surface, such as looking up at the sky, your visual angles remain open. This is so simple, but yet so beautiful. And I've known this for a while, but this gentleman is putting into words something that I've known but couldn't express for a long time. That's why I'm so impressed with this video. And yeah, Will.i.am, that's why I'm playing it, and that's probably why Flatzoid played it and other people. Get over yourself. The holier-than-thou flat earther. You think you have it all figured out and you're going to keep your information to yourself. What do you think we're doing here, douchebag? Get with the program. I'm fucking tired of people's attitudes. I'm tired of your egos, your self-centeredness, your solipsism. This is the world we live in now. You people are sick and psychopathic. You think this is a fucking game. But because you're special now, Will.i.am, you figured out the earth is flat. You want to keep it to yourself, dumb fuck? You don't care about all the children being lied to all around the world? How dare you? Sickos, man. It's a sick world we live in.
This all plays a huge role in how far we can actually see. We will go into further detail soon, but let's continue.
We can't see a 6-foot object 3 miles away, so therefore we can't see the bottom 6 foot of any object 3 miles away. But his reason for that was that it had to be either due to perspective or due to the globe horizon. But it can't be both. But objects can't appear to both get smaller and smaller as they get further away, but then also be blocked by the physical curvature of Earth.
Brian was partially right in saying that Earth curve calculators do not take any part of perspective into account, but of course angular resolution will always apply, no matter the shape of any surface you're on. Dave is simply taking advantage of a poorly constructed argument that failed to mention the proximity of a viewer to that of a surface.
That failed to mention the proximity of a viewer to that of the surface. That is key here. And now we're going to get into the main course because this is the key part of it. Let me get to it. All right, here we go.
And it can't be that we can't resolve the bottom 6 foot of objects 3 miles away because of limits to our vision, because that would then mean that we couldn't resolve the bottom 6 foot of any object that's 3 miles away. And yet we can resolve the bottom 6 foot of a plane when it's 3 miles away, no problem. We don't just see half a plane suddenly cut off.
That's because there is no ground to compress your bottom visual angle while looking at objects in the sky. It's not until they reach your visual horizon that things will be cut off from your view. It's time you learn this, Dave.
Thank you. So he makes a goofy argument that says, well, you could see a plane in the sky that's over 3 miles away and it's not cut off. Again, intellectually dishonest, as the presenter points out. That's because there is no ground to compress your bottom visual angle while looking at the object in the sky. It's not until they reach your visual horizon that things will be cut off. Your visual horizon, which is 50% of your field of view. I don't want to get upset. I don't want to get upset. It's not their fault. It's not their fault. They just don't know. They've been indoctrinated since the day they were born. They're egotistical. They want to be right. They're not really interested in the truth. They just want to be right. So then they're intellectually dishonest. Okay, note to self. They're emotionally stunted like children. And they've been rewarded for their compliance with deception. Okay, I'm grounded. I'm back. I'm back now. I'm back. All right. Thank you. Let's continue.
So this is across a lake nearby, which on a perfectly clear day, decent weather, and it's about 410 feet across to the other side, where there'll be a piece of debris that you will see here in a minute. So I'll go ahead and play. So I'm lowering my iPhone from about a 2-foot height down to just where the...
All right, so I'm not playing this for shits and giggles. This is information that is vitally important, more than you know. If the average plebe understood the information that I right now and these gentlemen who took the time to make this presentation are presenting, if you truly understood what this information meant, you wouldn't be so cavalier with it. They know not what they do. Pay attention.
Where the water ripples, and that's just when the casing on the iPhone just barely touches the water. Right there. So the camera is inverted. It ends up being about a ½ inch above the water. This is zoomed in. You can see the white piece of debris by the bench to the lower left of the bench.
There's the debris right where my arrow is. He's going to show you that as he lowers his camera down towards the water level, at some point close to the water, that debris will disappear. Get it? It doesn't disappear because he plunges it into the water. No. It disappears even though he's above the water. He's trying to make a point here. And this goes back to the point I was trying to make about horizon gap. Irrespective of miraging, refraction, lensing, and compression. This is a phenomenon because when information gets compressed due to the exponential growth associated with perspective, you lose resolution. God, I wish you guys could understand this, some of you. I truly do. This is so sad. This is because what I'm understanding now is the deliberate deception shown throughout academia, throughout the education system, and you people just keep sending your kids to these schools. You've submitted yourself over to tyranny and the illegitimate authority of this government, and it's sad and it's deplorable.
Bench across the way. So you'll see there, it's gone, and I haven't even touched the water yet. There, I touched the water, and it's back again. So I decided to put some measurements to this, which we'll discuss in a minute. I also want you to note that piece of white debris right there in the center of the frame that is very nearby, around 15 feet away, and how that close that gets to the horizon as we lower our phone down. So these are some still shots from what I just showed. So again, distance is 410 feet, and that near field debris is the red arrow in the left picture there in the low aspect of the frame. And then as I, at about a 2-foot observer height, and then at about a 0.5 inch observer height, you can see how high in the field that piece of debris got near the purple mirror inflection point or horizon line of this image. So again, keep in mind that if this is, let's say it's 10 to 15 feet away, and the distance between myself and the debris on the other side is 410 feet, that I am cramming 400 feet of information between the red tip of that arrow and the purple horizon line. Which is
I'm cramming 400 feet of information between the red tip of the arrow and here. See what happens when he lowers it? So this is 2 feet. When he lowers it to just 0.5 inches, just half an inch, like he said, all that information from this visual field, this is the crux of what he's trying to say. All of this information where you see my cursor gets compressed into this little sliver because this debris moves up here because of the exponential nature of perspective. This is why you lose things in the horizon. This is very simple. Why don't they teach this in school? Why are they still teaching first graders that boats go over the horizon? Still to this day, it's a lie. It's just a lie. They're lying to you all. They're lying to your kids. And we have a situation where the adults in this society are so infantilized that they don't even care anymore that they're being lied to. There is no longer a love of truth. We are truly in a state of decay.
A lot of information. And so what ends up happening is that your horizon shortens along the lower field, and whatever is there disappears into the essentially a gap that's formed. So again, this is just a typical photo with a iPhone camera about 6 feet off the water, and I am basically looking at a cresting wave, which you can see in the zoomed out photo. You don't even need to be zoomed in. You can see a little white dot that the arrow is pointing to in the middle of the frame, and then zoomed in, you can see it a little bit better. But how far is that cresting wave, do you think? So when you analyze this, you find that it's essentially about a half mile away. Each halving of a frame puts twice the amount of information in the next halving. So
each halving of a frame puts twice the amount of information in the next frame. Do you see how he has this laid out? I can never get the things off. He has it all laid out right here for you. He does the math on the left. This breaks perspective down better than anybody I've ever seen because it's concise, it's to the point, it's completely correct.
So you can look at the 50% numbers on the side. You can look at the amount of information that I'm cramming into each subsection. And again, the proof of this you can find when I analyze the hallway footage. And you find that in, again, the lower 1/4 of the image, I have 9 feet, and then it goes 18 feet, 36 feet, 72 feet, and it doubles each time. And by the time you get to the arrow point, it's only about a half mile, which means that if I'm a 6-foot observer and I see 3 miles, then I'm cramming 2.5 miles between the very top black line and the purple line horizon.
Get it right here where my cursor is. From there to there is 2.5 miles of visual information that gets crammed in to that visual field. This is why things become unresolvable in the distance. Do you? All right, I need to calm down again. Harmon, I get so upset because this information right here could wake the whole world up, and they're suppressing it. They're shadow banning this information. This presentation right here could wake the world up if they just showed it on the news. If they just presented it in school. They're lying to you, everybody. You're living in a reality that was made up for you. You guys just want to go along like everything's fine, footloose and fancy free. You enjoy the delusion. You enjoy your privileges and benefits because they suit you. Guess what? There'll be a time where they no longer suit you. The devil always comes for his due, and that time's coming. Frankly, sometimes I wonder why I come on here and do this. Because I could be like you, Mr. Will I Am, the righteous truther who wants to hold this information and act like you're better than everybody because you know something that other people don't. It makes you a fool and a coward. Pathetic.
Which is quite a lot of information to be crammed in such a small space. So I'm not going to go through this in too much detail. I want this to be short. Just remember that as you lower your eye height, you're cramming more and more information into a smaller space, and it gets lost.
As you lower your eye height, you're cramming more and more information into a smaller space, and it gets lost.
So, but it remains 50% of your vision. So the floor is still 50%, even though you're not seeing as far along the floor. So what happens to that information in the distance? It disappears essentially into this, what I'll term, I guess, a horizon gap.
It disappears into what he's calling a horizon gap. I mean, look at this. I'm going to freeze it on this for anybody who's watching this. This says it all right here. This image says it all. This wasn't taught to you. Flatzoid knew it. When I interviewed Flatzoid, this is how Flatzoid said he came around the flat earth, because Flatzoid was an art major. He went to school and majored in art in Africa. And they taught him this for art. It took him going and majoring in art and design to learn this. And that's why he said, Flatzoid told us, when he went to the beach with his, I don't know who he's with, and he looked out and he saw the boat go over the horizon. He said, wait a second. This is perspective. What? What do you mean? There's water curving, causing obstruction. This is it. It's perspective. It's fascinating.
And again, more information on this you can find on my channel or with the discussion with Geoengineering. Same thing here. Again, at different heights, you can see how I'm compressing different information. So when I'm 8 foot tall, the ceiling is getting compressed. And as I get down to 1 foot tall, or 0 feet, or essentially half a centimeter off, the floor is getting compressed. And this is just an aspect of how our vision works. It has nothing to do with curvature. So these spacings, again, just to reiterate, they are spacings along regular intervals that were measured. And you can see how that information changes as I alter my height to them. More and more information gets compressed into smaller spaces. And this is just taking them away from the photos to analyze them. And then putting kind of a side-on view, which again doesn't really exist, but just allows you to kind of conceptualize things a little bit easier. And some more math on how the floor tiles worked, the spacing along the the lights and how all the mathematics works out essentially to give us this halving phenomenon between each iteration of a frame. And this is at different heights, and again, how you see different aspects within each halving of an image, and how this phenomenon might allow for bottom first disappearance as the horizon along the lower field shortens, and we do not see as far along it. And what ends up happening is we form this gap of sorts in our vision. If we are close to the ceiling, let's say, and it were flat, we would have a gap along the ceiling, and we wouldn't see as far along the ceiling, but we would see as further along the floor. And the vice versa occurs when we are closer to the floor than we are to the ceiling. And my point with this is that we are always, when we are outdoors, closer to the floor than we are to the ceiling. So as I lower myself in this perspective here, and I have a light visible across about 400 feet or so, or 500 feet of distance along a hallway, you can see that the light is visible at first, and then as I lower myself, how perspective changes, and how at a certain point the light is no longer visible. And these are just everyday examples you can do on your own. So if we change our...
You see how when he got low enough, the light, he had a flashlight. The light becomes no longer visible. Was the perfectly level, horizontal floor obstructing the light? Of course not. This is just how perspective works. And again, even more to the point, you don't even need the phenomenon of refraction, lensing, miraging to have this. There appears to be a horizon gap. It's just plain and simple. When you approach the horizon, because of the halving that he talked about, and the exponential way in which perspective works due to convergence to a focal point, there's too much information in your particular field of view to be resolved. Therefore, it becomes opaque. It's plain and simple. Right, there's a vanishing point, Joe Moore, exactly. There's a vanishing point because it becomes unresolvable. There's too much visual information crammed in to that small field. When you approach your eye line, which is the 50% mark of your field of view, it's so simple. It's so simple. It's insane to me.
If we go from a hallway into an outdoor setting and we just change our horizon distance, there's no reason why this isn't a different aspect of perspective. It's the same exact thing. We're just outdoors. And instead of looking at a flashlight, we are now looking at a cruise ship or a boat or something else going over what we believe is a physical horizon, but it's nothing more than an apparent position of our vision and how our vision works along flat surfaces. So same thing again, I'm in here in a Walmart and then no light is visible. I'm along the floor. So there's no reason to believe why this aspect of vision would change if I were to remove the walls and the ceiling of this Walmart and extend this floor for miles and miles, and I were just to stand up. It would be the same exact phenomenon, but just occur further and further away. There's no reason to believe that this is curvature. So I just do that here. I remove the walls and the ceiling. I'm still on the floor, and then I extend my floor, let's say, to become some crops or something like that. It doesn't matter. And now I'm just looking at a tractor going off into the distance, and it disappears as well. So here's the footage with some more exact measurements, and this is just later in the day. And so you can see kind of what occurs along this flat surface. And I'm calling it flat because by globe standards, this is a flat surface. Essentially no bulge is apparent across 400 feet, but yet we have an issue here. So please watch.
Okay, here we are at the lake. It's a nice clear night, perfectly still waters. I'll put the coordinates on Google for where exactly I am across this lake and the distance of the light height, the distance of the light height, and the iPhone height. Bye.
So here we are, we're taking it at 2.5 inches just to be in the middle of the light. Here's the setup. And there I'm just barely touching the ground, touching the water. You can see the ripples just starting as the iPhone case just touches the water. There's no immersion of the camera or anything underwater.
And there goes the
There it
light.
is zoomed in a still shot.
There it goes.
Missing now. Slow motion.
And by the way, this is the same thing for people say, well, how does the sun set on a flat earth? It's the same thing. It just moves off. When it reaches a certain distance, it just merges into the horizon. Plain and simple.
You can see the autofocusing occurring. And I stopped it here so you can see kind of that there appears to be basically a hard line on this frame.
There's a clear cutoff from the bottom up, and it's very abrupt.
Again, just some more slow motion of the other times that I went up and down. So these were the distances. So again, 0.1 to 0.2. I basically sat there for about 2 or 3 minutes and allowed the positioning system to identify where I was before I pinpointed each point. And that's very accurate for at least where I was. So could it be a few feet off one way or another? Sure. But roughly it's about 400 feet at least. Again, you can see the measurement of my iPhone case to the center of the camera, and it is about half an inch. And you can see that I took the 2.5 inches for the height of the light, which was being generous. I didn't do the top of the light, which the whole light disappears, but I'm just going to do the middle of the light. And so some still shots again. As I'm about 1.5 feet off the water, you can still clearly see the light, and you can see a little bit of reflection on the water with the light, but the light is still visible. And then as I am 0.5 inches off, there is clearly no light visible whatsoever. And then in the bottom I just took some still shots of how that, when it was autofocusing, and you can see the halo and how that halo definitely appears to be cut off bottom first. So what should we be seeing if we were to be living on a globe? If this phenomenon right here is because this water is curved, and curved water is what obstructs our vision of things beyond a horizon, a physical horizon, then what should we be seeing? Well, the short answer is that we should be seeing this entire light. There should be no loss. And so the drop essentially should be about 0.004 feet, or about 0.048 inches, or which comes out to about 1.22 millimeters. And if you know how big a millimeter is, that's extremely small. And we are definitely far more than 1.22 millimeters with that light above the water. Furthermore, my horizon distance should be about 1,314 feet, which is well beyond the 400 feet that we were at. So by all accounts, we should be seeing this entire light the whole time.
Of course, you should be seeing the whole light the whole time, obviously. But he just basically said there was, are you going to really try to tell me that the water's curving over that short amount of distance? He said it was like a millimeter or two, based on their dumb calculations of curvature. I love the people who want to say, "Well, but Z, I believe in science, so I'm not really down with your flat Earth belief." It's like, well, this is real science right here. Just because they're not presenting it to you, just because they're hiding this information, doesn't make it any less true, everybody.
Really say that this wasn't a refraction phenomenon. If you were to go back and look here at these conditions, this is across 400 feet. It's crystal clear. The water is not moving whatsoever. And the temperature is roughly the same between the water and the outside air. It was a fairly warm night.
Okay.
Right, so as he said, no refraction. This is just pure convergence. This is pure perspective. This seems to be regardless of miraging, mirroring, refraction, those things all play a part, especially when we're looking out miles and miles. But he's looking about 410 feet here. And what he's doing so beautifully is he's showing you that even taking away those things like refraction and atmospheric effects, things seem to disappear at the horizon just due to the angular size and the information that's compressed into a particular field of view, plain and simple.
I'm not too concerned that refraction would play almost any role in this whatsoever. So Earth is now 1/4 the size it should be, and it ends up being smaller than the moon, using the rationale that this is a physical curvature phenomenon. So you can believe that, or you can believe something else is responsible for this bottom up first, or this bottom first disappearance phenomenon. So is information loss an everyday aspect of our visual horizons? Is it why is this occurring? Is it secondary to tangible surfaces? In other words, to our proximity to a tangible surface limits the amount of information that we're being allowed to process. So I just want you to focus on that. It may not be that the bottom of the objects disappear from being too small to see, but rather that the ground can only extend so far when we are close. Not so much the object itself. Can't see that far along the ground, but it still occupies 50% of your vision.
So we have seen how mirages, and how your proximity to a surface or compressed angles will obscure objects, bottom first on a flat plane, even if it were perfectly flat. Another way objects can become obscured bottom first on a flat plane is simply due to foreground objects, such as uneven ground, grass, waves, swells, etc.
So because perspective ascends quickly and then tapers, an obstruction nearby would completely obscure the bottom of an object far away. Using similar triangles and assuming we are at the portion of vision where...
What he's talking about now is how objects in the foreground that are relatively small can obscure relatively large objects in the distance, using the same principles he's been explaining this whole time. Oh, Will I am, you're still here. You're lucky I don't ban you right now, Will I am, just for being a smart ass. Will I am, give me one reason not to ban you in my chat. I want to know.
Where this perspective plateau occurs, again, typically beyond 20 feet or so, we see that if there were an obstruction 30 feet away, near that second golf ball, or just 6 millimeters above the eye line, it would be enough to obscure the entire golf ball 130 feet away. So we can have summarized this effect by stating small obstructions in the foreground obstruct distant objects. So if that doesn't make sense, maybe it will here if I explain the diagram. So the red line from the eye to the purple line is, again, going to have a rapid ascent rate, an exponential ascent rate. And so we know that objects, even though they encroach upon that purple line, they don't actually start to set for quite a bit distance away. So that means that there's essentially a plateau or a table of an area or distance across which an obstruction along that point would completely obscure the object further down the road because its angular size is going to get smaller. And so
because its angular size is going to get smaller. Like he said, because perspective ascends quickly then tapers, an obstruction nearby would completely obscure the bottom of an object far away. And small obstructions in the foreground obstruct distant objects.
bottom right-hand picture, I've kind of pointed to that golf ball that is 130 feet away. And so if we were to put an obstruction, let's say this blue triangle, and we were to put it in the nearby vision, let's say at 30 feet away, and I've kind of put that there on the lower right, I put the little blue triangle next to the 30-foot ball. But you can see how if I were to put that in line with the 130-foot golf ball, it would completely obscure that ball. And we can calculate that rate. So a 6 millimeter obstruction above the purple line completely obscures the entire golf ball 130 feet away. So here's some practical examples. So given a 0.4 inch observer height with a 1 arc minute of resolution, what height of an obstruction 60 feet away would obscure 0.4 inches of light at the end of a hallway 360 feet away? So it's just the same thing. Now I'm using a flashlight and an obstruction instead of a golf ball and obstruction. And so we find that just 1.7 millimeters would block the entire light 360 feet away. Same thing here. Now if I just stand up and I'm going to extend this to a further distance, given a 6-foot observer height with 1 arc minute of resolution, how big would a wave have to be 0.25 miles away to obstruct a 250-foot tall cruise ship 20 miles away? So it's the same relationship, 250 feet of cruise ship 20 miles away versus X amount of obstruction a quarter mile away, and you would get a wave of 3 feet. So a 3-foot wave just a quarter mile away that has encroached upon that purple line already because of the rapid ascent rate will obstruct the entire boat to 20 miles away. And a 1.5-foot wave, very reasonable, especially with choppy waters, would obstruct the lower half of that boat.
Thank you, good sir. And again, alas, alas, the vast majority of the populace has no idea how crucial that information is. They'll just overlook it. It's fascinating to me. The lie is fascinating to me. As I start to uncover the methods, the methods used to perpetrate such a deception, I'm continuously fascinated because it's such an ingenious lie, but yet it's based on simple principles. Just to sum it up, they inverted the way we see the world. And they basically present a reality based off our perspective, which is not reality. Our perspective is anything but. Yeah, I like what Gematria Wombat said here. Flat Earth is an aspect of the Earth we observe. What is the overall shape? Question mark. Don't know. But that one aspect is that we can observe and measure, navigate via sextant and celestial heavens. It is flat. I know this is a goofy topic to some people, to many people. That matters not. It's not going to stop me and others like me from creatively expressing this information at all costs. Frankly, I'm interested because I want to see what this world is like when the mass of people are actually presented with this true information about the world. I want to see if people accept it or not, because I'm fascinated by the people who accept this and the ones that don't. Like, I know there's 4 people who were here, at least 4, and listened to that whole presentation, maybe in the background, that are going to completely disregard everything they just heard. It just in one ear and out the other. And what I will say to you is, you are no lover of the truth. You've lost your love for truth. Maybe you never had it. I see you back there, guest. Let me just play a brief musical interlude so I can get some water, and then I'll bring you up and anybody else who wants to come up. Links in the chat. Links in the chat. Yeah, don't judge me. Only 4, and you're one of them. Don't judge me. How's this? Don't judge me. I want you to play that clip to your kids. I'm gonna actually, don't judge me. I'm gonna do you one better. I'll take you up on this. I'll tutor your kids for X amount of time for free. I'll offer my tutorial services. Don't judge me. You know I have a doctorate, right? Do you know that? Right? I'm just telling you so you know that when I'm offering the tutor your kids for free, that's probably something that you should realize has value. I'll tutor your kids for a month, but you won't let me do it. Don't judge me. Because you don't understand the importance of this information. I'll tutor your kids for a month. Free cost. All right, Snowfire. Much love, Snowfire. Much love. Right. Z tutoring my kids while Tommy babysits. Yeah. I'm not sure Tommy has a doctorate, though. Just saying, don't judge me. In case you didn't know that about me. All right. I see, like I said, links in the chat. I already have one guest. Feel free to come on up. I'm looking forward to talking to you backstage, Mr. H. Just hold on. Let me play some music so I can get a drink. That was a rather long presentation. Probably my longest. And P.S., guys, I did this on purpose because I really understand how important this information is and getting it out. And I'm going to cut this up and I'm going to have it on my channel. And it'll be there for people to reference. But I need a drink of water, so I am going to play a quick musical interlude. Don't leave, guests, because I want to talk to you. You're actually the perfect person to talk to after that presentation. And like I said, anybody else who wants to come up, more Z Show in 1 minute and 38 seconds. Much love, everybody. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome to Z Show, my show. You found your way here. Complete sociopathic personality disorder. Facts. So my mind is like forever, irrevocably fucking twisted by boobs. Young naked boobies. Thanks, adults when I was a kid who like did nothing to like help me progress, develop, learn. It just sat me in front of boobies. Great. Thanks. Anybody else relate to that? Anybody else relate to that? High school movies. High school movies. Welcome to Z Show, my show. You found your way here. Boobs. Young naked boobies. Complete sociopathic personality disorder. Facts. So my mind is like forever, irrevocably fucking twisted by boobs. Young naked boobies. High school movies. High school movies. Boobs. Young naked boobies. High school movies. High school boobies.
High school boob. Rat blood, you didn't have to put that part in. I mean, I know, like, I go off on boobies, but you could have cut out the part, of the high school boobies. Okay, let's welcome tonight's first guest to Z Show, Mr. Harmon. Much love, Harmon. Welcome back.
What a great show. What a great way you presented that. I've already watched that show, but it didn't matter. The way you did it made it even better.
Thanks, Harmon. I appreciate that. Because the whole thing was like 2 hours, but I tried to just get the juicy parts and present it to people. Because, Harmon, people have such a short attention span. Like, that was even too long. Like, I abridged that, and it was still too long for people's attention span. But I just think that this information on perspective is so important because this may be the crux of this debate, Harmon. It's just perspective, dude. How is it so simple that it goes over everybody's head, man?
Because as soon as you put any math, okay, I was thinking about that when you were talking about that earlier. When I first got into 2017, I heard 8 inches per mile squared. I know it's a second grader formula if you taught it to a second grader. I mean, it's not even a formula. It's just so easy, right? It took me 3 months to freaking, I said, man, because your mind is so blocked. It took me 3 months to try to comprehend that. I would go down the roads, I'd measure things, I'd do that, 8 inches per mile squared, you know, and that's, you realize how simple a formula that is, right?
Well, it's simple. It's just trigonometry, which is based off triangles.
No, that's geometry. That's basically geometry right there.
Well, it's geometry, exactly. It's geometry, but the 8 inches per mile squared is trigonometry is based off triangles, which is the same as this Pythagorean geometry. You're exactly right. It's simple Pythagorean geometry. 8 inches per mile square is a trigonometric calculation based off simple geometry, Harmon, but they make it so hard. In reality, any sixth grader that was taught well should be able to understand this. But 99% of adults, this goes right over their head. It's just word salad to them, man. It's crazy,
because
dude.
Number, we're programmed to block it somehow, you know? And let's say there was do you remember supposedly Shelley? The video,
who's that,
YouTuber? Supposedly Shelley.
That does sound familiar, but I think I'm thinking of somebody else.
She's posted for a year or more. She's from California. The same time you were starting your thing, she posted a video for the first time in a year. It's a 6-minute video. Has a lot to go with your show. If you trust me at all, pull it up real quick, scan through it. You'll see what it is, and it goes with what you were talking today. And it's
all right.
Really
I'll write it down. Her name is supposedly Shelley.
Right.
All right.
It's a YouTube channel. I'm telling you,
I can't do more presentation because we're in the open panel portion now.
Okay, no problem. I didn't know if you did or not.
So here's the thing, Harmon. Here's the thing, dude. Like you said about people are programmed not to see this. Let's get into that, dude, because I think that highlights something so important is that there's a block that people have. Now, I don't know what the block is. It's almost as though like they're conditioned to tune certain information out. Is that just programming and propaganda? What is that?
Well, when you were, I always take notes while you're talking, you know, to try to go like that. I was thinking that we've been programmed, but there was places that that program missed. There were, in 2018, there was an island, Indonesians, right off somewhere, I think of Australia somewhere. The whole island was flat earthers. They all just knew it. And once they were told, they saw it. And then Brazil, by 2018, there was already reported over 3 million. So somehow some places don't get that indoctrination, whether it's through TV, whether it's through school, but some places don't have that block that we do. So yes, you're right. There is a block, but I don't know what it is. TV, the education system, I don't know.
Yeah, I think like you said in Brazil, I think a lot has to do with people that are south of the equator, the southern regions. They seem to be on this more, like the Australians, the South Africans, and the South Americans. They seem to be on to the globe line much more so than people in the northern regions, because I think the differences are so stark down there. Like it's more observable for them.
There's a politician down there, a party in Brazil now that actually ran on a flat Earth party, and they have one of their, not the Division I team, but a high division of soccer team that's named after the flat Earth. So it's a national team.
Really, man, that's crazy.
So that's yeah. So who knows what they got going on down there? And somehow they missed that indoctrination that we've got in the United States, Canada, and most of the Western world, in my opinion.
Right.
Because how come I couldn't understand 8 inches times mile square for 3 months? I mean, I feel so bad, but it's such a simple concept. I just couldn't get it.
Well, me too, Harmon. It took me 2 years. You know why? It's because when we were endeavoring down that that line of thought, we were not realizing our presuppositions, right? So we were not understanding the things we were assuming were fact, things that were actually just merely beliefs. And we were like trying to work through it with like a faulty foundation. So because once you apply simple logic, logic is the key, because logic makes you question your belief system and really challenges the way one thinks. And when you can look through something through the lens of logic, that's when it becomes clear. And that's another thing they don't teach in school. They don't teach logic.
Right.
That's another big thing I've noticed, man, is that's conspicuously absent. Dude, they teach everything but logic. They'll teach fake history.
Like I said.
Yeah.
Shut up and raise your hand and answer A, B, C, or D. Illusion of choice. It's A. Well, I want D. Nope, you're wrong. But anyway, talking about that, you're teaching and like that. You know how I always make quick questions. So I called in on the Karen B morning coffee show because they were talking about helium. I go, oh my gosh. So I get into them about helium, and I said like this. I said, do you know what helium is? Oh, it's a noble gas. And I said, how did it come through? Where did it come through? And they didn't know. So I started questioning. I said, helium's man-made. It's not natural. Oh, no, it's not. It's like that. I said, it's part of the heliocentric model. I had them all going, right? So they look it up on the internet and stuff where helium came from. It come crashing and mixed to Earth on the Big Bang and filled in the rocks and all this stuff. She said, well, I don't believe that part. Well, tell me what part you start to believe. I want to know what makes you believe that it's from their story. And cognitive dissonance, we still have it in us, just like you said. What do we still believe? Pre-assuming, like you just said. I like that.
Well, Harmon, that's one of my issues with Karen B, is because I start to wonder, I'm like, Karen, are you gatekeeping this information? It's like she's decided what she's going to accept and what she's not. And she's kind of made a line in the sand. And still evidence is, like you said, a high level of cognitive dissonance, man. Where
I think that's what it is. I think she's honest as can be. I just think, and we still got to realize, look at ourselves in the mirror. What are we believing in this bullshit that we take for granted? That's how I look at it. What do you think?
Well, I know you're a huge proponent of this idea that this lie goes deep. And I would agree with you, is that the deception of academia to build this false world that they've created for us, it goes into many different domains, right? It goes into physics, it goes into chemistry. The fact that they've invented forces like gravity and the two nuclear forces, and so this deception goes beyond shape. It goes to the very heart of science, dude. That's why it's scientism, dude. That's why it's not science, it's scientism.
That's what I told them today. They were talking about the atomic and the nuclear and the particles and stuff like that. I told them, do you guys know that's never been seen, never been shown? It's also a theory. Oh no, but it works. We can see how it does. I said it doesn't exist. An atom's never been seen. A molecule's never been seen. The particles and the nucleus around and nuclei around them never been seen. Smaller than the human eye can. Well, you just got to believe it's there. And I go, don't you guys realize that's the same thing they told you about outer space? Inner space is just as PS as outer space. And they all went off. Well, they didn't go off on me, but none of them were even cracking their cognitive dissonance, as I call it. Am I making
so
sense?
You know what I find, Harmon, is that people, the flat earthers, they know they look silly to the public, right? They know it looks completely silly to be a flat earther. So they've kind of made like a little deal, like a little karmic deal, where they're like, they don't want to look completely crazy. So they still want to hold on to certain parts of like normalcy, right? Like certain parts of like mainstream education or the mainstream agenda in an effort to save face, right? Go ahead.
Just say it. It's like the they're hanging on to the heliocentric model. I don't care how you slice it. It's not just outer space. It's on the ground. It's in our science. And they're hanging on to it. Well, the noble gases. I go, who gave us the noble gases? I said, the noble gases are invented by the same people who gave us the globe. And you don't question them?
Right. Well, again, it goes back to who controlled the education system for like years and years, dude. The education system was run by the Vatican. People can't wrap their minds around this, dude. Education was held by the Church of Rome. It wasn't like it is today with these government institutions and public education and public universities. That's not it. The knowledge was held by the church. The very church that has been pretty much controlling humanity for thousands of years at this point now, if you're to go by their timeline, which I don't really give a lot of credence to.
But you do know there's a black pope and a white pope, right?
So I do know that. I know there's the Black Pope, which I think they house the Black Pope on Malta and is guarded by the Knights of Malta.
Well, it's not a secret within it. He's in charge of the science and the education system, which is the Jesuits. And then the white pope is in charge of spirituality and religion. That's their two different areas. And that's when they did supposedly in our time, in the timeline they gave us in the 1500s, the Spanish Inquisition went to all the countries and they took the Jesuit priests with them and they erased their flat earth or the real world and instituted their sun worshiping heliocentric model to all the countries, all over from South America, from South Africa, from New Zealand, Australia, Philippines, all the places, all the way to Korea. As far as I understand from the stories we're given, they weren't allowed into China. That's
interesting about the China thing. Yeah, so basically they went around, they destroyed the old world knowledge, and they instituted basically their education system, their knowledge for control. I get that. That makes sense to me, Harmon. Do you think it really comes down to worshiping a sun deity that they basically perpetrated this on mankind?
Exactly. I think they're sun worshipers, and they don't want Mother Earth to be the center of creation. They believe in the sun, and so they made the sun, so everybody worships the sun, and everything pays homage to the sun instead of Mother Earth. To me, it's that simple.
Well, the sign of the Jesuits is a sun sign. It's an image of a sun. You're right. It's got the IHS and the sun rays.
Right. So everything is to worship the sun. That's the whole model. Not that they did this in perspective and all this stuff. They just believe in sun worshiping, and that's their religion.
Well, here's the thing, Harmon. This precedes the Jesuits, man. This goes back to like, the Roman Empire, the Grecian Empire,
it goes back to
and even before that, man, Apollyon, all these references to the sun, man. There's so many. In Helios, the sun god Helios. So this goes back, man. What do you think about this idea of a second sun, a dark sun, a source, like Crow was talking about, second sun? You have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, people always want validation in what they believe. They always want it. How about we'll just never know? We'll know what doesn't happen. The moon and the sun aren't the cause of the eclipses. So there has to be something else. You can speculate all you want. We just don't know. In the story, speculation will get you just sounding silly. Then you'll start believing that the moon takes your souls and comes back next month and reloads up with souls.
Right. So you like to stick with things that you could demonstrate.
Yeah, and then just enjoy nature that we can't. We just enjoy it while you're here. We know it's not a ball. And people say, "Oh, I don't know what shape it is." Yeah, you do. They're afraid to say it is a shape. It is flat plane with valleys and stuff like that. We know it's not a ball. Well, it could be this. No, it's flat. Just get over it.
Right.
You know?
That to me is the biggest cop out, man. When people just say, well,
Yeah.
nobody can know what it is. Nobody can know what it is. That's such a cop out, man.
Exactly.
It's escaping because they don't want to look silly. That's what I mean, where people don't want to go all the way. Are you interested in a true thing versus a false thing or not? Because if you're worried about looking silly, if you're worried about looking crazy, then you're not interested in truth. Because like you said, the people who say that are cop-outs. Because here's what I say to those people, Harmon. I go like this. I'm like, okay, so if nobody can know what the shape of the earth is, then why are they telling everybody what the shape of the earth is? Like, okay, so let's just take okay, so maybe you're right. Maybe nobody can know.
Finally, someone will say that. Finally. I tell that to so many people. You know?
What?
It's a cop-out, like you said.
Yeah, it's a cop-out, dude.
Just say it.
It's a cop-out. Oh, it could be anything, or it could be either, or it could be this, or it could be that. That's not it. This is the simple stuff we're talking about, man. We're talking about very simple concepts. It's the lie that's complex. And I think that's what it is, Harmon. They can't get past a deception and a lie that's so big. So they'll ignore the truth because they'll say, well, I can't handle such a big lie. That fucks me up too bad. So I'll just go with this thing. It's very strange.
Yeah, it is. Who said that? Someone said, oh, they like me. Don't judge me since I like Harmon. Well, you like my persona on this show. No, thank you. I appreciate that.
Harmon, I bet if you met her, I bet if you met her, you'd like her too. I bet. I'm just saying.
No, I like all. Yeah, they're all nice.
Harmon,
Anyway,
what is
so,
your day to day? What is your day to day like, Harmon? Like, what is? It's for people like us. It's different. It's different because we're such outsiders compared to everybody else that there's an effect from that. Like there's a consequence. What is your day to day like, man? Like I know you have family and stuff, and you've told me a little bit like this information and who you are doesn't go over well with your family. And I know that's got to hurt you, Harmon, because it hurts me a little bit too, because there's an ego in it. I don't know. I don't want to speak for you, but for me, it's like, wow, like you guys all looked up to me. Like I have a lot of family. I'm a Guido Italian dude. So I have a lot of cousins, a lot of aunts, a lot of uncles, a lot. Yeah, well, apparently, I mean, contrary to popular belief, I'm not Jewish, everybody. But dude, here's the thing, man. It's like I was like, my family used to look at me a certain way at one point in my life when I was like part of the system, when I was being rewarded by it, when I was a professional and I had all the trappings of success. I was viewed in a very particular way. Now that I'm the way I am now, so vocal about my beliefs and the way I think, I'm now in a different category with everybody, and I watched it changed. I watched it change over the last 5 years, maybe 7. And I can only imagine you experience the same thing in your life, dude. So just for people like us out there, how do you deal with it? What's your experience like? What kind of advice can you give? Like younger people who kind of share our similar mindsets, and there's plenty of them. What do you have to say, man?
Well, how old was I? 7 years ago. I was about 57, 58 years old when I figured this out. And first thing I do, you want to tell your family, right? So I live about 3 hours away, maybe 3.5 hours away from Long Beach over here in Nevada. And I'm all by myself. I have no relatives, have nobody, no one I know here really, except for the guys I golf with in the daytime. So I went there to tell them. And of course, my son-in-law graduated from Stanford and his friend works on the Hubble telescope from East Coast. So he can tell you how that one went. And so I'm literally not allowed to talk about it. 7 years. When I go there, I'm told this. And a year ago Christmas, I went there and I was literally told not to come back. And I don't raise my voice. I'm kind. I'm polite. And I just tell them to think, and they go, "We don't want to hear you." So okay, so that's no problem. So how did I deal with it? I thought it was funny when my granddaughter was 3. She comes home from, I always happened to be there, and she came home from preschool and says, "Grandpa, how do people stand on the bottom of the ball? They told us today the Earth is a globe and stuff." I said, "They can't. I can't." Well, the next year she comes back and it's about the same time frame. She goes, "Oh, they do it with gravity." Well, now she's 7.5, and now I'm referred to her the silly grandpa. So
Oh my God. Who gave you the name silly grandpa?
My little granddaughter.
Was that like your?
But I'm sure
was that your daughter? Like one of your daughter-in-laws, maybe, or even your son?
Oh, that was my daughter's daughter. That's my daughter's daughter. So no, they all. I'm not allowed. So this, little kids paid. When you were little, you could hear grown-ups talk and everything.
Right, silly grandpa. So see, that's the thing, Harmon. You're breaking my heart a little bit because I could relate to it and I understand it, man. This is the price. This is the price that people don't understand. The price of truth, the price of embodying something that's truthful versus a falsehood. And like we said, this is the underpinnings of the hypnotism, man, because people don't want to be the silly grandpa. Z doesn't want to be the silly uncle, the silly boyfriend, the silly husband. Z doesn't want to be those things. But I don't know. People like you and I, just our penchant for truth just probably overwhelms our discomfort with being labeled silly or goofy or crazy. And that's what it is, because you're actually representing something that they don't understand, but they minimize, they devalue, and that's not, it's actually sad, man. And
no, really. I like don't judge me. Just says I embrace the crazy mom. I'm telling you, I agree with her. I love it. I got friends that I golf with, the fire chief of the town, 2 doctors, a dentist, and they all know me. We'll be walking on the ground and I'll fall down real quick, like on a hill or a knoll by the golf course. They go, I said, I forgot about the spin of the Earth. Oh, we joke about it all day long. I'll tell them, oh yeah, okay, you think you're spinning 1,000 miles an hour, you better play this golf shot. They all know. So I've never been afraid of it. And because they don't know, so the things I quote to them, even these guys who's got a minor degree, the fire captain who has a minor degree in physics, I asked him about the shadows and how they cast shadows when they had that back in, was it 2017 or 18, when we had that last eclipse across from Oregon down to North Carolina. And I was telling him about that. He doesn't know what they say. He says, well, I was never taught that in college. Then I showed him, right? So now they'll call me when there's a full moon doing something. Look at the moon. Look at this. Look at that. So at least they question. So that's how I love it. I deal with it.
Man, good for you. Good for you, Harmon. That's good stuff, man. That's kind of inspiring, dude. I like it. You just kind of go with it. You roll with the punches, man. It's actually awesome.
This Emilios man says he does. Oh my God, Harmon, I do the same. He does it. He does it like that all the time. And so it's fun. Because I don't know when there's people afraid. Oh, I'm afraid to tell people. I was never afraid to tell anybody. It didn't even cross my mind to be afraid. So that part never even crossed my mind. I didn't care when we thought. I was trying to help them. If they can't figure it out, that's their fault.
Right, like you said, you're trying to help them. Dude, that's the irony of it. Is that we're actually. It's like I chastised the one person, Will I Am, in my chat earlier because they were like, "Oh, you're gonna present this like all high and mighty," and I'm thinking like, no, I'm presenting this for a reason. Like, there's a reason I'm doing this. So, to me, that's the fundamental thing.
I apologize to you. I need to apologize to you. I remember a few months back you asked me, do you think it's important I do what I do, that I feel obligated to do this? And I said, oh, not really. But that's wrong, because I do it every day. I just don't do it on YouTube. You get a broader audience, which is much more powerful and harder to do. So yeah, you are doing what's important.
Well, I appreciate that, man. But I think we all are in our own little way. Harmon, if I wasn't doing it here, I'd be doing it on the street, dude. Do you know one of the reasons I started my YouTube channel is I was trying to talk to people on the streets about this, and I saw the way they were reacting, man. Dude, one day a group of high school kids like almost tried to like jump me, dude, because of this information. And I was like, oh, this is very inflammatory. So let me come online and learn how to do this and gain an audience. That way, when I go out in public and start speaking this information, I'll have some experience under my belt with talking to people, and I'll be able to then bring other people in for the experience. Harmon, I was in my hometown, right, and it was during the whole, the whole COVID thing, and I was outside and I was out in front of a convenience store and I'm just sitting there like on the sidewalk, like on the curb, and I'm like eating something like a snack. And a group of like 10 high school kids came walking by me and they said something to me. Like they engaged me. I didn't engage them. Like they said something. And I forget what they said. And it triggered me. I said, hey kids, I said, do you want to know like a secret that your teachers aren't telling you? And they're like, what, man? What? I'm like, the earth isn't a globe like you were taught. It's actually level and horizontal. It's flat. Harmon, do you know they almost kicked my ass?
Well, I had the opposite experience. I was coming out of a show in 2017, 18. There was a bunch of young, I'd say 14 to 17-year-old kids, about 7 of them. And we're talking about forums. I said, hey, you guys know the world's flat? And like 4 of them said, yeah, we know. It's just, I try to look who I approach. Like I practice. I go to Walmarts, I go to stores and stuff, and I look at eyes. You can tell. To me, I can see dead eyes and I can see alive eyes. I don't try to talk to people who I look at and see dead eyes. And you can actually, if you look good enough, you can see people in their eyes. I mean, I'm not 100%, but I'm probably 80% of getting it right when I talk to somebody. I always practice that. It's fun to look at their face and expression. If you say hi to everybody and you make facial contact with them and you can see them, okay, that's a good sign. But most of the people you say hi to, they'll look down and don't even acknowledge. But I say hi to the way that, hey, how you doing today? Hello. They have to respond. I'm telling you, 95% respond. So on that part, then I see where they go from there. I do. It's just a game. It's fun.
That's interesting. I do also notice that most people, at least where I live, they're not involved with even the basics of cordial interaction. Like for instance, I was out in a hiking trail today. I was jogging and just walking and hiking and stuff in the woods. And this young guy like came walking by me, like maybe in his late 20s and early 30s. And like he barely even acknowledged me like out on the trail, like he was like tunnel visioning. And that's kind of normal nowadays. But wasn't always like that, man. People would greet each other. You would acknowledge somebody's presence, quick eye contact and a nod. You don't want to stare anybody down. That's aggressive. But also to ignore somebody is also on the opposite end of the spectrum of poor social etiquette. So, but I'm noticing that with people, younger people especially, they're not really involved with like the basics of communication, human interaction, interpersonal relationships. Have you noticed that, Harmon, or is it just something that I'm seeing?
I think you got to look at them. You got to know what's going on in their life. You got to see what's going on, what's in shoes or something like that. You got to break the ground with something. Hey, I see those. Hey, those are cool. You got to break the ground with something that they're interested in. And then you go from there. It's easy to do once you learn to do it. Of course, I went on a mission. You remember, I've had people skills. I've had to do this. I worked in a prison for 23 years. You better learn to talk and realize, okay? So, no, I'm a little outgoing on that. Everybody, see, now for 7 years, I've been golfing at the golf course, but I golf barefooted. And my nickname at the golf course, everybody calls me, hey, there's Fred Flintstone, or there's a guy that plays barefooted. Do you know how good it feels to play barefooted?
What's up with that? You play barefooted? Most people wear cleats, dude. The complete opposite.
No, but it's grounding, earthing, and stuff like that. It just feels so good. It's amazing. It's like being on the beach with your in the sand. You know, you're not gonna wear shoes there.
You know, you remind me of. Did you ever see the movie Caddyshack?
Yeah, I've seen that.
The Chevy Chase character Ty, he's like a zenned out golfer.
Yeah,
That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah, what's his name? Chevy Chase.
Yeah.
Yeah. My neighbor. Okay, Cleveland Steve says my neighbor works for NASA. He doesn't like me. My family just thinks I'm nuts. And then Don't Judge Me says I was raised by hippies, so crazy. So she was answering him. Crazy runs in her family. I thought that was kind of. But yeah, I love talking. Look how I talk to you. You know, I don't know you. You know, and you're easy to talk to. I just sometimes I talk too much.
Well, I mean, you're even friendly with that Melodome crowd. They're like a bunch of stoners, which is the opposite of you, and you fit in with them, man.
They all tease me about that. Oh, here he is, and everybody in here is supposed to be getting high, but we'll let you in anyway. they I don't know why they like me so much, but they do. Well, that's William, what's his name? Austin. He likes it that I do question people about all this noble gas. He loves that part. He says no one else will do that. And I said, well, there you go. You know.
Well, that's one of the things I do like about Awesome Austin, and I do like Austin. Is he's open-minded and he's not dogmatic. Like you're not a big fan of like the Christian, the Christian contingency of the FE community. I know you accept them, but you're not huge supporters of them. And because even in like these communities, these conscious communities, people still go into dogma and orthodoxy, and you're not like that. And Awesome Austin's not like that. He's open-minded, man. And I think that's what we need, because like you said, it's okay that we don't know every little thing. You don't have to know every little thing in the world. There's something about this. There's mysteries in this world that aren't even meant to be known. It's like we say about gravity. Down is down. That's okay. I don't need a reason. I don't need to know.
I give all the time years ago.
Good.
Did you ever hear the reason I give for down? See, and they won't do it like today in the show. Someone said here, it says, real quick, appeal to your senses. He says, he met me in Salt Lake City meetup a couple years ago, right? And he says, I'm a badass there. But I wanted to go to that Saturday. It's about an 8-hour drive. I should have gone, but I didn't go. But anyway, so the down, I say, and this morning everybody argued with me because everybody has their feeling of what the ether is. And I've told you a story about how we communicate to the, I think the air is the ether. And the vortex of like the sun and the yin and yang goes around. The vortex is the down of the ether. That's your down. Is where everything's in a vortex. And just, you remember that stick that swims upstream? You've seen that, right?
What is it? It's a stick?
They get a little stick. It's like from South American stuff. And you put it in the water or the river or the stream, or even on a faucet coming down, and you put the stick in, and it travels up the water, and it travels upstream. Ever seen that?
No. What's the mechanism behind that?
Vibrations, how it's done. It's a little curly Q, a little bit like that. When you go through Victor Schwaberger and all those things, you'll find that it has to do with that. And
okay. Oh, I see what you mean. I get so the motion of the stream interacts with the vortex like shape of the stick, and it actually propels it against the energy. Wow.
Yes. So that's what I'm thinking. Just a simple things. So here you got the vortex of the ether going, which causes, because everything grows in a vortex, everything's circled, everything in nature, everything has that vortex, which is the power of the ether circling us every day. It's the power of, and that's what ages us too, you know? And so, and they say, well, how can things grow up? Well, I says, how does that stick go upstream? Maybe the vortex that it grows can go against the power that lets it to grow up in its life. But things that are dead fall down because they don't have that force.
That's interesting. Simple. Nice thought on that one. Good thought. All right, Harmon, final thoughts for the audience so I can get to news.
Well, no one else called in, huh?
Well, I could drop the link and everything, but it's,
anyway,
We're getting close to 3 hours, and I got to do the news. So,
All right,
it's
thanks
all
for letting
good.
me talk.
You're the man, Harmon. Nice appearance today. Good stuff,
All right, bye.
dude. Talk to you
Bye,
soon,
guys.
brother.
All right.
Mr. Harmon, holding it down. Ladies, he's single, by the way. At least I think. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I heard a doorbell there as he was talking. It could have been one of his lady friends. If you missed it before, Harmon gave us a whole rundown previously. Because I'm going to take a lead from you, Harmon. Because Harmon doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, he doesn't do drugs. But Harmon, that didn't stop Harmon from like going to the bars and interacting with some of these party girls. Which, if you ask me, Mr. Harmon was honestly, dude, a top level move guy. Hey, young men out there, follow Harmon's lead. He's not there drinking his ass off, getting wasted. He's there, clear as a bell. I think he was drinking Coca-Cola. He was drinking his Coke on ice. And he'd be buying shots for these broads, buying beer. He didn't care. More than that, he would let the chicks go and basically have other guys buy them their drinks. So he'd have the chick that he's with go around and like solicit and exploit drinks from like all the other gullible simps there. And then he'd go home with these broads and have his way with them. Nice. That's good stuff, Harmon. Angela says, I love this show, Z. I know you do, Angela. Most people don't want to hear this kind of stuff, though. It's not, I do it anyway, and I mix my content up. But I realize when there's certain content that people aren't going to be interested in. But that's fine. We move forward anyway, really, because that's what it's about. Oh, I want to remind everybody who's here. He doesn't have a link. Don't judge me. Harmon doesn't do content. He just does his thing. He's not a content creator. He's a contributor. That's what Harmon is. Join my backup channel if you're here, if you're listening. It's right on screen there. Z Network. Maybe I'll be able to drop the link in here if it lets me change accounts. I want to get people to start subscribing to my backup channel. Is it not going to let me drop the link? Let me see. Account. Yeah, Z Network. How many people do I have on Z Network? What am I up to? All right, I'm up to 75 on my backup channel. I'm going to drop the link in the chat. Please, if you are a Z person, subscribe post haste to my backup channel. All right, so I have a copy. Now I just have to get back to my show. Where's my history? Hold on, guys. Let me work this out here. Because people have reminded me it's important to start dropping my link in. And it's always good to have people on your backup. I'm going to start doing content on the backup channel. Okay. Link for my second channel is currently in the chat. Subscribe to it. It's there for you. Just hit the button. It's not hard. I'll be doing alternative material there. No Venus Cupcake and Heidi and Don't Judge Me. It's not going to be an OnlyFans. It's still going to be, PG-13 content. Adolescent approved. So, but subscribe to it. Thanks, Venus Cupcake. I'm going to be doing stuff on there. Like I said, the alternative stuff. You'll be able to get, if you're interested in like getting a more like in-depth personal view of yours truly, that's the channel to do it. Heidi's going to be there. That's when we'll do the in-depth things. Maybe you'll get more of a glimpse into like my life and stuff. Like I was out in the woods today. Well, maybe you'll see me on my backup channel pop on and we'll do some content like, IRL, as they say. Yeah. Robert says, imagine the minds Z could free with his OnlyFans. Well, I'm not sure about that, Rob, but thank you. It depends. Maybe if I can get some of the ladies of the Z show to kind of help me out with that. I would have loved for that Christy Lee dolls to help me out with that, but she's banned from my channel. Okay, this is for my longtime listeners. Heidi, pay attention. Because people who know who I'm talking about, Christy Lee dolls. I've had her blocked for maybe a month and a half now, but I see her on all these other Flat Earth channels. I see her on Karen's channel. I see her on my friend Joe from F'd Up World's channel. I see the lovely Christy Lee dolls on all these Flat Earth channels. So I know she's into the community. I always know she was. Rose is here. Okay, so Rose, you're going to want to vote here, Rose. This is serious. Put a one in the chat to reinstitute Christy Lee dolls into the Z show and unban her. Put a 2 in the chat to keep her banned. You got to put a number, Heidi. I'm only going to look at numbers. A 1 to bring back Christy Lee dolls. A 2 to keep her ass on ice where she probably belongs. Robert wants me to sell out already. If you don't go to the dark side, we can't turn dirty. Yeah, it's funny. All right, come on. Feel free to vote because I'm going to go through and count these. I'm going to read it out. Heidi says unban 1. Rose says unban 1. Tariq says 2. Keep that bitch on ice. Sean says 1. You tell me 2. Clint, the fucking aging cowboy Adonis. That doesn't surprise me, Clint, that you would say 1. Rose is emphatically putting 1s in the chat. Somebody put a 3. Marky Rizzo says 1. Britt says 1. Camacho Wombat says 1. That's interesting. Cupcake says 3. 1, 1, 1. Arpool says 2. Ruled by Saturn says 2. Jason voted as well as a 1. That's another 1. Shifty Eyes just says freedom of speech. Well, that doesn't necessarily apply to my YouTube channel. Somewhere in time says listen to my heart. If I listened to my heart, I'd have Christy Lee dolls here, first class, post haste, and she'd be here in my little sex dungeon. Robert just says voting is fake. Truth says, what's the question? If you missed the question, don't worry. Spammed 1s don't count. There's a lot of 1s. Yeah, Dr. Evals wants to see her around here. Maybe I'll unban her. Here's the problem, Christy. And I know here's the weird part. She's been listening this whole time. Most likely. Unless she just gave up on me totally. As much as I've tried to train Christy Lee dolls and get her in line, she just keeps bucking the system. She's untamable. She's wild. She's completely wild. She's insane. Oh, David Harbor says 1. I shouldn't listen to all you thirsty simps, but Clint says my bar, Clint's Roadhouse bar, his Patrick Swayze Roadhouse bar always had a 50-50 men to women ratio. That's a high ratio, dude. Good job, man. Mr. Clint. That's funny. Harmon says you have already made up your mind before the vote. The illusion of choice. Well, Harmon, you got me. No, Rose, see, we have to stop the bullshit here. Rose, the spin stops at Z Show. She's not a sweet person. She's not the sweetest person ever. No, she's not. That's a ruse. You know that, Rose. I know you're nice and sweet and you're trying to stick up for your friend Christy. That's not true. She's not the sweetest person ever. She's a stone cold killer. Do you know how many hearts she's probably broken in her life? She very likely collects the souls of men for her personal amusement. Like some kind of weird Mortal Kombat like finishing move. She just sucks guys' souls right out of them. I know how she does it too. It's not hard. I'm just saying. She said one of the best people I've ever met. Okay, Rose, don't oversell it. Sometimes less is more. Clint says best dive bartender news and review 99. Clint, you are the aging Adonis from Roadhouse. Don't make me play your new theme music. Please. Much love, Christy Lee dolls. I don't know. We'll have to investigate it. She did have a strong showing tonight. Overwhelmingly, the Z audience appears to be in support of Christy Lee. But I don't think I should give her any special treatment, but I'm inclined to do so for whatever reason. I don't know why. I just am. All right, ladies and germs, it's time for news. In tonight's top story, Supreme Court's Alito pauses Texas law on illegal border crossings. U.S. Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito on Monday temporarily blocked a judicial decision that would let a Texas law take effect to give state officials broad powers to arrest, prosecute, and order the removal of people who illegally cross the border from Mexico. Alito issued his order requested by Democratic President Joe Biden's administration after the New Orleans-based Fifth Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals on Saturday paused a federal judge's ruling that had blocked the Republican-backed Texas law. His order is set to expire on March 17th, but he or the full Supreme Court could take further action before then. Alito handles certain emergency matters involving cases from a group of states, including Texas. Well, interesting how they try to make this a court issue, a Supreme Court issue, when this is obviously a political hot potato being used by both sides in effort to promote their agenda and their spin and propaganda. What's going on at the border? I don't know. I'm not sure. Frankly, I'm not even too concerned about this United States government. I gave up on it a long time ago. It's goofy. It's silly. I'm interested in like the people around me more and more, less interested in their nationalism and their civic pride. Like I said, when I was walking out today, and again, yet for another day, saw the spraying of the skies, the intense chemtrailing that was basically going on in the skies above me. I'm at a point now where what's to hold on to with this government? The Constitution, if it ever was adhered to, has been tossed out for well over a century at this point. We appear to be in some state of basically a corporation. Privileges, benefits have now trumped rights and liberties. So if my rights are basically just a privilege and a benefit that I get by contracting with your dead entity corporation, what's in it for me? Because I've dealt with a number of corporations in my life, and I've realized one fundamental precept is they take much more than they give. And when you're signing on the line, dotted line, well, you best read the terms and conditions, because that's where they get you. It's never a good deal to contract with any entity, especially a dead entity. They call it corporation for a reason. Remember we talked about word magic the other day? How they trick people into compliance using subterfuge. It's basically magic. I've said it before. To me, the Declaration of Independence is nothing more than a dark magical spell. One in which they get you to consent to your mind control. It's really ingenious. Hey, hats off, psychopathic elite bloodline controllers. You got us. You got us. But there's some of us who've jumped over the fence. We've left the plantation. The key is to not get trapped on the larger plantation. Because in reality, it appears to be some weird case of almost like German nesting dolls. Fractal. Just when you think you've escaped, turns out, joke's on you. How deep are you willing to go? What are you willing to give up for truth? Because some of you, you've already given everything to this world, including your soul. In other news, unanimous? Top takeaways from Supreme Court's ruling to keep Trump on the ballot. From Washington, the Supreme Court on Monday unanimously rejected efforts by some states to declare former President Donald Trump ineligible to run again, but was more divided over whether and how anyone else could do so. The justices also didn't weigh in on a central finding on Colorado's now revised decision that he can't run because he engaged in insurrection by trying to overturn the 2020 election on January 6, 2021. Former President Donald Trump declared the decision a big win, while the challengers called the ruling a narrow, technical off-ramp that doesn't tell the full story. Unlike in 2000, when the court split along ideological lines in stopping Florida's recount of the presidential contest, handing that election to George W. Bush, all 9 justices agreed Monday to overturn the Colorado Supreme Court's ruling that an anti-insurrectionist provision of the Constitution made Trump ineligible to appear on Colorado's primary ballot. The justices didn't want to enable a state-by-state patchwork of decisions on Trump's candidacy. Interesting. More politics. Hey, guys, the balance of power. They tell us there's 3 branches of government: the executive, the legislative, and the judicial branch. They were supposed to be balanced. Funny thing has happened along the way. The judiciary, the Supreme Court, has basically become the de facto government for a number of reasons. The idea of judicial review, constitutional oversight. You can look in the history of the United States Supreme Court. You could find how slowly over time they used their power the power of the court to basically expand their governmental powers. Why should the Supreme Court have any decision on whether or not Trump can run? Okay. They decided unanimously that Colorado was bullshit, trying to keep him off. What if they didn't? What if it went the other way? Too much power in the hands of 9 individuals. Did you know the Supreme Court number's not set either? 9 is just convention. There's been moves to make it larger. It's only convention to have 9 judges. If you ask yours truly, too much power in the judicial branch of the federal government. Lifetime appointees. Welcome to politics. They've set up a system that's so ingenious, so complicated, and so entangled. That they could basically perpetrate any agenda they want. I'd have a guest in the background. I'm going to let you up guest because it appears like you've learned how to use your phone. Oh, and now you're gone. And you can't get it. All right. So I started off the show screaming at my guests. I don't want to, my audience. I don't want to end the show screaming at my audience. It's not nice. It's too much. Yeah, no, I see you. You see this thing where Z unblock me. I already told you, Uncle Rick. You'll get unblocked when you come up and have a conversation with me. And if it's to my satisfaction, I'll unblock you. You know why you're blocked. You need to have this conversation with me to get unblocked, Uncle Rick. You come up every single day and can't get your phone to work. That's not my problem. Borrow your wife's phone, get a new phone, buy a used phone, borrow somebody's for the day and give it back to them. But you're not getting unblocked until you come up and talk to me. You're not Christy Lee Dolls, Uncle Rick. You don't have the power of that pussy that she has. You just don't. So you're not going to get the same dispensation I'm willing to give Christy Lee Dolls. You're just not. Oh, here we go. And another guy came on. Look, if you people can't get your phones to work right, that's not my fault. It's not a hard thing. It's not. But Uncle Rick, you're not getting the same dispensation. Because there's 0 chance I'm going to fuck you. There's still at least a 20 to 25% chance that I'm going to get in Christy Lee Doll's panties someday. Those hand-crocheted panties that I know she's walking around with. So you're not going to get the same level of treatment here, Uncle Rick. You need to come up and talk to me. And then I might unblock you. I might unblock you. Right, the pull of the pussy. Hardad said, I haven't seen Uncle Rick's face in like a year. I miss him. Well, that's his own fault. He knows why he's blocked. He knows. Right. She's got those tight-knit panties, crocheted. Robert Stewart is saying that pussy pulls greater than gravity. Maybe that's what gravity is. Maybe we're all barking up the wrong tree. Maybe gravity is just the pull of some like really top choice pussy, like the best pussy ever. I don't know. Hey, that's more likely than what they're telling you. In other news, fury after Exxon chief says public to blame for climate failures. The world is off track to meet its climate goals, and the public is to blame, Darren Woods, chief executive of oil giant ExxonMobil, has claimed, prompting backlash from climate experts. As the world's largest investor-owned oil company, Exxon is among the top contributors to global planet heating greenhouse gas emissions. But in an interview published on Tuesday, Woods argued that the big oil is not primarily responsible for the climate crisis. The real issue, Woods said, is that the clean energy transition may prove too expensive for customers' liking. So the real issue is that green energy transition may prove too expensive for customers' liking. Again, because the green energy transition is just another level of controlled opposition. Because there's no evidence that EV, electric vehicles, are any better for the climate than the combustible engines. Who says that they're better? Who says that solar's better? The reality is there's a high likelihood that the true renewable energy of this earth has been occulted. We've talked about this before on Z's show. Free energy, atmospheric energy. It's provable that the higher you go, the more positively charged the ionosphere gets. It means that the saturation of positively charged ions increases as you go up. This fact seems to have been known in the not too distant past. They just kept it from us. They gave us this dirty energy because it's profitable. It's sick. It's gross. Electric energy is not the answer. Hey guys, here's a hint. The electric has to come from somewhere. Do you know where it comes from? That's right. Fossil fuels, quote unquote fossil fuels. What do you think they're burning at the electric plants? That basically, all right, I'm going to make it real simple for everybody. If you look at the outlet on your wall, you know, your electrical outlet, and let's just take a little like adventure, and we like trace that back to where it starts. You know, you leave your house, you follow the wires down. Some are underground, some are in cable, cable lines and stuff. You follow it all the way back. Guess where it's going to go? To a power plant. Where do you think the power plant gets its energy from? That's right. Mostly fossil fuels. Okay, maybe you live near a nuclear plant. Let's not even get started with that. They're either going to be burning gas, like gas, or oil, maybe in the form of liquid gas. Maybe it's a wind turbine. Maybe it's hydrodynamical. Maybe. But the energy must be produced from something. Oh, you want hydro energy? Okay. Build dams, dam up rivers, destroy ecology and ecosystems. There's no short way around it. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Except maybe with this atmospheric energy. Because if there's just energy all around us, then there's energy all around us. It doesn't have to be extracted and exploited. All right, I'm going to paint it for you like this. Let's talk physics. You guys want to talk physics? Applied physical science? Let's do it. Each time there is an energy transfer, only 10% of that energy is carried forward to the new form of energy. 90% of it is lost through heat and entropy. What do you mean, Z? What do you mean, Z? What I mean is, if you have to burn something to create electricity, the process of turning the energy from combustible energy to electrical energy, you lose 90% of it. I'll give you another example. Let's say you have an electric stove and you want to boil some water. Okay? You guys all paying attention? Because I know sometimes I get like real in depth in the stuff I do in the show, but I'm going to keep this one real simple for all the people who need the training wheels. Okay. We're going to keep it real simple. Say you want to boil water on an electric stove in a standard, let's say, westernized household. Let's follow the process. Let's count the energy transfers and how wasteful it is. They take, let's just say it's coal or oil, okay? They burn the coal or the oil. That turns a turbine. That's an energy transfer because you're going from combustible energy to the mechanical energy of the turbine turning. You've now lost 90% of that energy in the energy transfer, okay? Now that turbine goes from mechanical energy to electrical energy through that process. You've then lost another 90% on top of it. through entropy and resistance. Now that energy has to travel down your line to your house. Along the way, because of resistance, it's losing energy the whole time, and you need transformers and boosters to keep it going. It just doesn't travel freely like that. There's always resistance. Now that electricity enters your house, and when it hits your electric stove, it then does another energy transfer, losing 90% of that energy to basically heat the coil on your electric stove so you can boil your water. With those 4 or 5 energy transfers, you have less than 1% of the original energy you started with just to boil your water. Now let's switch it up. How could we just preserve 100% of that energy? Just light a fire and boil your water. You see, that's how it all started. Combustible energy that had to be transformed to 4 or 5 different forms of energy, losing the vast majority of it on the way to boil your water. You could have just lit a fire and boiled your water. That's the problem. You can talk to me about renewable energy. You can talk to me about greenhouse gases. You can talk to me about the Luciferian dream, where they're going to sell you that more technology, just better, is going to be the solution to our current problems. It's just a pyramid scheme. And I'm at a point where I'm actually ready for it to topple. All right, everybody. It's enough. We're already 15 minutes over. Oh, look who's here. Mr. Flatsoid. Late night for you, Mr. Flatsoid. Much love. Maybe it's an early morning. Nah, too early. I don't know, maybe you get up really early for work. Either way, much love, Mr. Flatsoid. Whose name is Keith, by the way. We found that out. All right, let's wrap it, because I can keep going, but we'll call it a day. It's Monday. It's Moon Day. Yeah, Mateo, House of Cards. Much like your life, Mr. Mateo. All right, everybody. That'll do it for another episode of Z Show. I think my light is 1 notch too bright. Let me try to bring it down 1. That might be too dark. Who knows? We'll find it. 9 more minutes. That's a rather specific request, Mr. You Tell Me. All right, everybody. Parting is such sweet sorrow. So let's not say goodbye. Just farewell for now. And if the fates are willing, we will be back here tomorrow. We'll do it all again. 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Same Z channel. Much love all. Take care.